26-year-old dental assistant Dominique Magalonis for kicking her car and terrorizing her kids.
Order. All rise. Yes, this is case number 137 on the calendar in the matter of Oglesby versus Magalonis. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Miss Oglesby, according to the complaint that I've read, on April 21st, you went to your ex-boyfriend's house. You and your ex-boyfriend have a child together, and it was your intention to retrieve some property. You arrive at the house, and the defendant is there.
Yes.
You and the defendant exchanged some words.
Yes, we did.
Nasty words.
Yes.
Why, I couldn't tell you, but you exchanged some nasty words. According to your complaint, the next day, while you were in or around your home, the defendant shows up with someone else in her car. They get out of the car. Your children are in your car.
In the car.
You get in your car because you see her, and she kicked your car and terrorized your children who were in the car.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you want her to pay for A, the damage to your car, and B, for terrorizing your children, right?
Yes.
So you get to the house on April 21st, the ex-boyfriend's house. Who answers the door?
Nobody answered the door, Your Honor. He wouldn't open the door.
How did you become involved with the defendant?
As I was leaving, he came out on the balcony, and I asked him, you know, just let me get the clothing. I need it for my daughter for school. And he...
Just a minute. I would like her out of the room, please. Go ahead.
Okay. He came out on the balcony, and he says, get out of here. You left me for another guy, this and that. And at that time, she came out on the balcony, and I exchanged words with her.
Well, what were the words you exchanged with her?
I just asked her, like, you know, who are you, and things like that. Really was none of my business, but I just asked her. And she didn't say...
But it wasn't nice. You didn't say, who are you?
No.
What is your name?
No, no.
So you were annoyed and nasty and screaming at your ex-boyfriend and screaming at her. And then you left.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened the next day?
The next day I was coming home from a fair in our city, Orange Blossom Festival, and I had my friend with me, and my brother was with me that day. And we had 2 kids in the car, and then we stopped at my cousin's and we picked up my 2 daughters. And on my way home, I witnessed her nephew driving down my street. I was leaving the gates, and I saw him coming into the gates of the apartments, and he was looking at me like, you know, what are you doing here? And I was kind of wondering.
Okay, so nephew. So you see the nephew driving down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And?
And so I turned my car around because I was going to go to my cousin's house because I didn't know what he was doing on my street. I was kind of a little bit worried. So as I was stopped my car, I got out of my car and I was standing there because he was going to turn around. I thought he wanted to talk to me or something, so I got out of my car.
Your Honor, if I can interrupt on that.
Just a minute. I thought you said you were driving to your cousin's house because you didn't know what was going on. He was looking at you funny, so what did you get out of your car for?
I got out of my car because I wanted to clear up what happened with me and her the day before on the balcony. I didn't want any trouble.
Go ahead.
So he didn't turn around at the first street. He went to my street, honked the horn, and the defendant came out of my street with her 2 friends in her truck. And I got back in my car because I saw her coming, and my 9-year-old daughter was screaming, bloody murder. My 6-year-old daughter was crying, and they were screaming. She's all, no, Mom, no, Mom. And
what were they screaming for? So far, nothing's happened.
Because that guy, she didn't know what he was doing on my street. And I told my friend, I think that...
We passed the guy. You got back in your car. I thought you told me you got back in your car when you saw the nephew. And then you saw her car.
I saw her come out of my street, okay? And I got back in my car, and I sat there, and I told my friend, call 911, because I didn't know what they were going to do.
Where was your friend?
She was in the passenger seat.
So what happened next?
Okay, so I got back in the car, and by that time, she skidded up in front of my car. Her and 2 other girls jumped out of the car, came up to my window. My window was halfway down. I said, my kids are in the car, my kids are in the car. And she didn't say nothing, but she said, you're mine. And I just seen this foot coming, and then her friend hit my car with a cane, a brown, long cane.
Was there a dent on your car?
Yes, ma'am. I have a picture.
Let me see. Uh-huh. Got it. Okay. Estimate.
This is from my insurance company, and this is from the body shop. I had to pay $500, and they paid $315.
So you had a $500 deductible?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
On April 21st, approximately like 4 o'clock in the evening.
4 o'clock is in the afternoon, last time I
early
looked.
afternoon, early evening. I was invited over to Carlos's house.
I don't care. You were in Carlos's house. She
Okay.
comes over.
And we were celebrating my birthday. I had nothing to do with, no relationship, honestly, with Carlos. I walked into the kitchen. I heard a knock at the door, and that's when the plaintiff ended up hearing my voice. I said, "Someone is at your door." And then the plaintiff had knocked twice, this time even louder. And then after that, I was like, "Oh my God, who is that?" He sat there and he told me, "Oh, that's my baby's mom." And I said, "Oh, great. I don't want any trouble." I didn't even bring my own vehicle. He went to my residence and he picked me up.
I don't care about this. Just get to what's important, madam. You had words with her. She started screaming. There's no
Right.
question in my mind that she opened up
She
a big
got on her
fresh
cell phone.
mouth, and called you a whole bunch of names when you
Right.
came outside.
Right.
On the patio, she opened up a big fresh mouth, and then she left.
In a gated community, she entered the residence, and then she got on her cell phone and she made numerous calls, which I had called authorities, and Carlos had asked her to leave.
Okay,
And-
because she was pretty frightening.
Yeah,
She was pretty frightening.
right.
So then my question to you, madam, is why the next day do you go to her house?
That is not accurate. The whole scenario of the case is like, it was one day, which was on the 21st. The 22nd is when I got to there's a local gas station. There's another street coming eastbound.
I don't care,
and
just get
she
to
ended
it.
up coming oncoming traffic with her 2 children in the vehicle, and she boxed my vehicle into the gasoline station. There was a
lying, Your
truck.
Honor.
Shh. Hey,
There was
no,
a-
she's not. No, she's not. You got a miserable hot temper.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gwen Oglesby says her ex-boyfriend's friend, Dominique Magalonis, kicked her car. Dominique says Gwen attacked her.
Go ahead. She boxed your car in.
There was
So
a-
she's even more frightening. And then she took off.
No, she didn't, Your Honor.
You took off.
No,
Somebody left.
no, this is a...
You're not still at the gas station.
No, the whole thing is the reason why I ended up leaving is because I was rolling up in my lower truck and I was rolling up the window and I could see her coming out like this and they said, "Oh my God, there she is," which is my other witness. I had 3 witnesses that didn't even show up today because she's
I don't-
intimidating.
Just a second. I don't care about you 3 witnesses who didn't show up today. Did she hit you?
Yes, she did. She struck me from my driver's side window.
She's
Did you
lying, Your
call?
Honor.
Hey, quiet.
He was with me.
Quiet.
As a result of that, the gentleman on back of me in the other vehicle let me go.
So you left.
I ended up going down on this one street that directs from my house to her house.
Perfect.
And then I ended up calling a deputy that I know specifically in the area that we live in to ask him basically, what am I supposed to be doing with this?
Why did you go to her house the next day?
To go out there and let her know that I had just started working for a new office, and I didn't want her going into my office and acting a fool like she did at the apartment.
Just a second. So she acts like a maniac 2 days in a row.
Correct. With her children in the vehicle.
2 days in a row.
Correct.
The next day, you, with a couple of friends in your truck, go to her house to have a discussion with her? A reasonable discussion with
No,
her?
ma'am.
What did you go there for?
She had occupants in the vehicle. She had 2 daughters.
What did you go there for?
To basically explain to her that I am
So
not
you
gonna do
went
it.
there to have a reasonable, calm
Yes.
discussion with her.
I conduct myself in a decent manner. I'm
What'd you
not gonna-
kick her car for? You kicked her car.
No, because the reason why I admit that
You
I
did
kick
kick
her
her car.
Because okay, if anybody caused any trauma to her 2 children, the daughters, she had a knife inside the front vehicle.
I don't want to hear you.
Okay,
She's lying.
and about her saying that I had apparently called her these names, she was standing outside the vehicle. She ran inside in the car. She had her hair down as it is now. She pulled it up in a ponytail and she said, "You know what? It's one-on-one, BITCH." That's exactly what you said to me with your children inside the
Whoa,
vehicle.
wonderful. She's not, listen to me. She's a hothead. She's got a hot temper. You're a fool because I don't believe that you don't have a hot temper because somebody who acts as crazy as she acted 2 days in a row.
Correct.
You don't respond to that by going to her house with friends in your truck. You had no business going over there. You have a friend in the police department.
Correct.
Your friend in the police department would not say to you, "Well, after acting like a nut, I think it would be a good idea to go over there and try to have a calm discussion with her."
Correct.
And you did. and you ended up kicking her car and causing damage.
Because she tried to exit the vehicle with a knife, and she was on a cell phone.
No,
she
no,
passed
no,
a cell
no,
phone.
no, madam. Listen carefully to me. You had no business being there with your two friends in a truck. You kicked her car.
But it was out of self-defense. I wasn't
No,
trying to cause any harm
self-defense
to
and
her. You were on the phone, and I said,
Excuse
you know
me, Your
what?
Honor.
I told her straight up.
Be quiet, hothead.
Okay.
I told her.
Quiet, hothead.
I told her honestly, I said, you know what, you're a very beautiful woman, but the way you're acting towards me, I have no relationship with Carlos, nothing.
Just a second. I don't believe you when you say you went to her house for the express purpose of having a calm discussion with her. You went there with two cars, not one. Your nephew's car went first. You came in your truck second with other people in your truck. You ended up banging her car. But for the fact that you went to her house, you would not have placed yourself in this circumstance. You have to pay for the damage.
But yet let her
Period.
come to my residence and drive up and down my residence, so I don't even stay at my house anymore. I've moved out of location.
I'm telling you, she's
And
a hothead. She's not going to get 1 penny for what she says was trauma to her children. She's suing not only for the damage to her car, but for the trauma to her children. She caused that.
I'm not worried about the money. I'm just worried about her leaving me alone. That's basically what I want.
Well, I want to tell you something. You didn't handle it right, madam. Handling it right was not going to her house
She comes
with a whole
around
bunch
to
of
my-
other people.
That's not true, though. I didn't
You
come
want-
to her to sit there and try to cause damage to her.
Whether you did or whether you didn't, it was an exercise in poor judgment, considering what had transpired the 2 previous days, to go to her residence.
She
and
presented
to
a note
confront her.
into my- on my-
Listen to me. Period. Period.
When she goes to my office and she presents a-
Period. Now, your girls were traumatized?
Your Honor. Yes,
Your girls were traumatized?
Yes, they were.
I have a feeling that if your girls were in the car, you would have said the exact same things as you said when you went to pick up their property at the house, Big Mouth.
I don't do that in front of my children, Your Honor.
Oh, really not? I don't think you can control yourself. So I'm eliminating any claim for trauma to your children. You better learn how to control your temper. But you do get the damage to the car. Your out-of-pocket is $500. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The defendant's just upset that I told my ex-boyfriend that she was really a man instead of really a woman.
Her attitude is like way off limit.
And now the next case.
All parties on Caldwell versus Madrid. Step forward.
24-year-old clerk Mary Caldwell is suing her ex-girlfriend, 24-year-old plumber Janet Madrid, for an unpaid loan to buy a car.
Miss Caldwell, you and the defendant were living together. You were in a relationship when you claim you made a loan to her to purchase a car for the down payment. Is that right?
Correct.
And according to you, the car down payment was $2,500. She made one payment of $200 to you and has failed to pay the rest. You want your money back.
Yes, correct.
Defendant says there was never a loan. When was the car purchased?
July of 2000.
How long had you been living together prior to that?
Over a year?
Now, as part of the defendant's response to your complaint, she says that a year before that, you had wanted to purchase a car, and she sold a couple of motorcycles that she had. Is that right?
Yes.
And gave you the money to put down on a car that you wanted to buy. Is that true?
Yes.
How much did she give you?
I don't have an amount for you, I'm sorry.
Did you ever pay her back?
No.
You are living together at this time in a relationship as a family. Is that right?
Correct, at the time.
And am I also correct that this car that she purchased was put in both of your names?
Correct. For the reason that she didn't have a driver's license, she was unable to drive.
All right. Now tell me the circumstances surrounding this alleged loan, Miss Caldwell.
We were in a relationship. It was falling out at the time, but she asked me to loan her the money, in which I
What
loaned
did
her
she
the-
say?
She said, I want to get a car. And I told her, okay, that's fine. I had the money on me. I said, well, it needs to be a loan. Do you understand that? And she said, yes. At that time, we went shopping around for a car. She chose the vehicle that she wanted. I made the down payment on it. She told me that she was going to pay me back. It was a verbal agreement between the both of us.
That sounds all pretty pat. All right, Miss Madrid, let me hear your version of it.
I never told her that I want to borrow the
No,
money.
I want you to tell me step by step. Don't tell me what you never told her.
We both said that we need a car.
Why? You already had a car.
No, because the car that she bought before this car had got repoed because she couldn't make the car payment on it.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. You didn't tell me that.
Sorry.
When had it gotten repossessed?
Maybe about 2 to 3 months before we bought this other car. And I was paying the last couple payments on that car because she couldn't pay for it. she lost her job. And so I said, I want to go get a car. And she's like, okay, yeah, we do need a car. And she had just got a settlement from an accident. And she's like, well, I have the down payment for the car. And I was like, okay, fine. I thought it was just like me giving her the down payment for her car. I thought it was an even swap.
Well, even swap. You said you gave her $800. This is $2,500.
Yeah, well, our whole relationship, you know, she never paid bills. I paid all the bills. She never paid rent, nothing. I supported her.
Your
She
Honor.
didn't have a job. She didn't have a job. Anytime she needed money, okay, here, Mary, here's some money. So I took the loan out on the car to finance the rest of the car, and I've been paying on it ever since.
You did? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In February of 2001, you gave her $200. What was that for?
It was probably for insurance or something,
Your Honor, that is not true.
because insurance was in her name.
Yes, the insurance was under my name because she didn't have a license. How was the insurance going to be under her name if she didn't
I
have a license?
asked you a question.
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I do clerical
Where? For whom?
for a hospital.
Which hospital?
It's actually called Medical Group.
How long have you been working there?
About 5 months.
Prior to that, where were you working?
Prior to that, I was working at a temporary agency.
So you weren't working regularly prior to that?
Correct.
Okay. Tell me about this alleged $200 payment.
When she was kicking me out of the house, she told me that she wanted all my stuff out of the house. I said, okay, that's fine. I'm moving all my stuff out of the house. She
What
told
day
me
was that?
maybe February, in the middle of February. So right around our supposedly anniversary is when it happened.
Well, tell me about it.
I asked her for money to give me some kind of repayment on the loan. She told me, okay, here's $200. She wrote me a check.
You have a copy of that check? Mm-hmm. Can I see it? Looks like she gave you money pretty regularly. What'd she give you money for pretty regularly?
Mainly to pay the bills.
No, she's got things here for the gas company. Pacific Bell? Here's one for $100 to you. On the bottom it says Janet's stuff. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Mary Caldwell, that's you, another $100. Mary Caldwell, $160. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a plumber.
Work full-time?
Yes.
All right, Miss Caldwell, let me tell you what I think, madam. What I think is that the two of you were living in a relationship as a family. And when the year before you wanted to buy a car, she gave you some money. And when the following year she wanted to buy a car and you had some extra money, you said, I'll put down the down payment, you make the payments, because you weren't working. You were working as a temp. And you were all living as a family. And now that you're not living as a family anymore, you say this was a loan. I don't believe you. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't get to fully explain myself.
Well, I think
53-year-old sheriff's deputy Edwin Brock is suing 55-year-old entrepreneur Donald Courtney for filing a false complaint after a traffic stop.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 154 on the calendar in the matter of Brock versus Courtney. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Brock, you are a peace officer. Is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
Your complaint is that you made a traffic stop of the defendant for speeding, and that subsequent to giving him a ticket, he filed a complaint against you, which was patently false, with Internal Affairs causing an investigation. And while you were cleared of all charges, that report will remain on your file permanently, and you want him to pay you damages.
That's correct.
That's what the case is about. So I have a couple of questions, then I'm going to go to Mr. Courtney. How long have you been a peace officer?
I've been a peace officer, Your Honor, for approximately 9 years.
And what is your assignment, sir?
I'm assigned to the traffic division as a motor officer and an accident investigator.
When did this incident happen?
The incident occurred on September 2nd of 2000,
What time of day?
approximately 8:30 in the morning.
And what was the reason that you stopped the defendant's car?
On that date and time, Your Honor, I was in uniform working speed enforcement in my jurisdiction when my attention was drawn to a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed on a street named El Camino Real. My visual estimation of the vehicle's speed was approximately 50 miles an hour, which is about 15 miles an hour over what's posted for that roadway. And that roadway in itself has numerous driveways and businesses in this particular area, which restricts a sight distance for vehicles traveling.
Whatever. So you thought he was going about 15 miles over the posted speed limit?
That's correct.
You pulled him over?
Yes.
When you pulled him over, you identified yourself as a peace officer?
Yes, I did, and I was in uniform.
Mr. Courtney, I'm going to come to you next, and I want you to tell me your version of what happened after you were pulled over.
The officer came up to my window, and I inquired of him as to why
Well, just tell me
I was
what
being
you
stopped.
said. I inquired of him. Tell me what you said to him. He came up to your window. Did he say anything to you, or did you say something first?
He asked me for my identification.
Did he say, can I have your identification
Yes.
or your driver's license and registration?
Exactly. Yes, he
No.
did.
Which one?
He asked me for my driver's license and for registration.
Did you give it to him?
I looked for it, and then I suddenly remembered that all of my identification, along with my passport, was in my briefcase, which was sitting at home in another vehicle with my driver waiting to take me to LAX. I was on my way to Europe.
And you told him you didn't have
Yes, I did.
driver's license nor the registration for the car.
Yes.
What did he say to you then?
He asked me for my particulars, my age, my date of birth, my address, my height, my weight, color of my eyes, and I gave him that information.
Okay. Go ahead.
And he then returned to his motorcycle, which was probably 5 to 10 yards parked behind my car, and he was there for quite some time.
And then?
Then he returned to the car, and he presented me with a ticket to sign.
Mm-hmm.
And I signed it.
And then?
And then he tore the ticket off, and he left.
So that all sounds very nice. And then what did you do?
Well, there was a lot that transpired in between
Well,
because
I'm
of his
asking
actions.
you. I mean, we're not going to play I've Got a Secret in 20 Questions, Mr. Courtney. So far, you told me what happens when you make a routine traffic stop, license, registration you don't have, checks your ID, gives you a ticket, and you both go
Well,
on
the
your way. That sounds
the
all very
gentleman
nice.
here, while he's composed today, was
No,
quite...
no, just tell me what happened,
He was
Mr.
agitated.
Courtney.
He was very agitated.
Tell me, sir. He comes and he asks for your license and registration. You don't have it. I want you to tell me, point by point, which I thought you did, what it was that caused you to file a complaint against him.
When he approached me, Your Honor, he appeared agitated.
How did he appear agitated?
When someone looks at a person and they're not composed, possibly he had a bad start to his day, I don't know, and he did...
So he appeared agitated.
Yes, he did.
Okay. Go ahead.
Then, when I told him that I didn't have my identification with me, he just didn't seem to believe me, and he became more agitated.
No, don't tell me agitated. What did he say to you, sir?
He told me he was going to take me to magistrate's court.
Okay, go ahead.
And that was after I had informed him that I was on my way to LAX to fly to Europe, so I assumed he was going to take me to magistrate's court. I was going to miss my flight.
So what did you say to him?
I just basically cooperated with him and gave him the
tell me what
information
you
that he
said.
wanted to. I don't recall exactly what I said to him at that moment, but what I did do is I got on the phone and I dialed 911 right away.
Why?
Because of how he was conducting himself.
So far, I haven't heard anything, sir.
Well,
untoward.
I'm about to share it with you. He was,
Well, please,
he
share
was
it.
very animated.
How animated?
He was animated to the point whereby he was in my face, in my car.
How was he in your car?
His face was literally 12 to 18 inches from my face, and I'm sitting in the driver's seat, rather than having a good 3-foot distance where people can just communicate with one another. He was in the car, so to speak. He was in my face. He was not happy. He was in a bad mood. He was agitated.
Your Honor, this man is perjuring himself.
Just a second. Now, after he left, according to you, there were no words that he said to you. It was his affect. Is that right?
No, he had threatened to take me to magistrate's court, and
That
I
is
couldn't
his right.
understand why.
That is his right to take you to magistrate's court, sir. So that's not a threat. There were no words that he said to you that were threatening. It was his affect.
And his hand on his gun, Your Honor.
Yes.
This was just a simple traffic stop
Well,
on a
it's
Saturday
simple-
morning.
It's a simple traffic stop, Mr. Courtney, except that the person who he stopped had no identification, had no license, had no registration. So what initially is a traffic stop becomes something else when there is no identification. I'm going to repeat myself. Other than the fact that you say his affect appeared to be agitated, he did not threaten you in any way. He didn't curse at you in any way. Is that right?
Oh, that's not correct, Your Honor.
Well, what did he say to you, sir? That's what I'm trying to get to,
The
Mr. Courtney.
intonation in his voice, he was very abusive in how he addressed me.
Tell me, sir, what he said.
I don't recall the exact words, Your Honor, but just the manner in which he conducted himself.
May I
He didn't
s-
comport himself properly.
All right. May I see the report that was filed, please?
This is a letter that he wrote to my department
I'd like
for
to see
Internal
that.
Affairs. That's the letter right there.
Your Honor, may I make a point, please?
Yes.
Some of the points he made in the letter, using the words...
Go ahead. Shh. Just a minute. Go ahead.
This incident occurred September 2nd. The Criminal Investigation Department conducted its investigation, wrote a letter back saying that they weren't going to pursue anything against the gentleman. Therefore, I assumed it was fait accompli, everything was over. I talked with my lawyer here in Beverly Hills. He said, pack it in, forget it. So I shredded everything.
Well, I have it here.
No, I appreciate that, but I wanted to peruse it prior to coming on the show.
Okay. Well, in the letter, Mr. Courtney, that you've written to the police department, you have accused the plaintiff of not only menacing affect, but of cursing at you on at least 3 occasions, something that one would necessarily remember if you remember his affect. I'm going to make a mark.
Your Honor, while you were
Just a
looking at...
second. Just a second, sir. Would you show this to the defendant, please?
Thank you.
Read the portions that I've checked.
I apologize. I don't have my glasses with me.
It's a strong
Are
enough
we in
for
the same
anybody.
age? We're in the same age range?
I'm younger than you are.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheriff's Deputy Edwin Brock claims Donald Courtney filed a false complaint after a traffic stop. Donald claims Deputy Brock was verbally abusive.
Can you read with my glasses?
Yes, I can. Perfectly.
Now, I'll take them back. And the paper.
Thank you.
Without going into graphic detail, well, I best go into graphic detail because we have a record here. When I was signing the ticket, in shrieking tones, according to you, he said, sign the ticket or you're going to court now. That I would remember. Then, you say, he said to you with his finger, you and your limousine. And then you say he said to you, when you said, please just give me the ticket. And at this point, he erupted and said, I've had enough from you. Those are things that I would remember if I were telling a story, Mr. Courtney. Mr. Brock, according to your complaint, sir, you made this stop. And the time you made the stop, you took out a recording device. Is that right?
Essentially, Your Honor, yes.
Not essentially. That's what you said here. You said, I got off my bike and turned on my tape recorder.
Yes. It's a device that I wear on my belt. It's not something that I have to remove from a stored place.
I understand that.
Okay.
And you take that off because it's protocol to turn on the tape recorder so that you can memorialize the stop. Is that right?
That's correct.
Where is it?
I have a copy of the tape right here.
I'd like to hear it.
Okay.
Bird.
It's difficult to hear, Your Honor, because of the background noise of traffic, but you absolutely will not hear foul language from either party on that tape.
We're stopping before you go the speed limit. What's the speed limit? 35? 35 where? On Speedy Boulevard, the Garden View. Are you serious? I'm very serious. Jesus Christ, I lived here for years. I never knew it. I thought it was 50. Are you serious? From where? Where's it 35? From where to where? Encinitas Boulevard to Garden View Road. Okay, which is Garden View? Just past. Oh. Are you serious? No, that street's been there for 35 years. No, I know, but I thought it was 50 the whole way down. Wow. I'll be damned. Well, let me start with your registration and insurance. How about that? I can't believe it. I'm flying to Zurich right now. I'm trying to get to the airport. How do you go to the airport without identification? Because I'm going home. The limo's picking me up. There you go. Have your vehicle insurance with you? Nope. Right. That's the only one you have? No, I have one. Okay. Bring the insurance report with you. You got a license as well. You're not admitting guilty to the charge for being cited here for the speed violation. You have to appear in court for the charge if you're not admitting guilty to anything. Okay. Your court date starts November 13th, 8 o'clock. Okay? You said I'm not admitting guilty. Well, your constitutional right, though. Even if you agree to... What are you charging me for? Speed violation, or proof of insurance in the vehicle. Well, what is the speed violation? What do you mean, what is the speed? Well, what was I doing? Well, you're over the speed limit. 48 miles an hour. I mean, really. Let me say something. You really have nothing better to do than to stop me 50 miles an hour over the speed limit in this town?
I mean, come on.
Let me ask you a question. When should I start writing tickets?
Well, let me say something to you.
No, don't say anything else.
Why not? I can say whatever I'd like.
You for sure can.
Yeah.
Why you sign a ticket, though? You're going to sign a ticket and not delay me any longer. The ticket asked you nicely, and I did ask you nicely.
Don't be silly.
No, there's no more we have to do. I'm standing out here. I don't care who you are.
I did the last time. Let me tell you what happened the last time.
I don't care what happened to the last officer. I'm hanging out here with these cars going 45 miles an hour. Now, I want you to sign a ticket so I can terminate. You want to terminate the contract by signing the ticket here. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you.
I'm not arguing. I'm trying to talk to you now.
I don't want to do it anymore. You know why? It's going downhill. You're getting the ticket.
Downhill from what?
You're getting the ticket whether you like it or not.
I don't mind.
Okay, I would like you to sign so I can go.
Sign it. Relax.
You can voice your opinion in court. If you sign the ticket and you can relax on your trip to Switzerland or wherever else you go. I'll take it. You want to go sign in front of a magistrate, you can sign it. If not, you sign it right here. They can be taped later on. Right here on the side of the road is not the place to have debate. The cars going behind me at 40 and 50
I'll tell you, this is not the end of it. Respect,
you know what?
Not the end of it.
You won't be the first one.
Oh, no, you don't know what happened last time I took an officer's report.
Here's your copy. Hang on, don't go. I need your thumbprint here since you don't have any driver's license. Would you put your right thumb on the pad right here, please, and just lightly touch the box? That's it. Good day.
I got a problem.
Drive safely.
You're way out of line, Mr. Courtney. Way out of line. Didn't you know he had a tape recorder going?
Yes, I did.
Well, if you knew he had a tape recorder going, sir, and I've just listened to the entire conversation that the two of you had, there is nothing that he did to you that was untoward that day.
Respectfully, you weren't there. You
I don't
didn't
care
see
whether
him.
I was there or not. I heard you.
I was there. I saw his facial remarks, his hand on the gun, and furthermore, I have a witness here with me today who will testify that he physically assaulted her in a court hallway 3 months later.
Do you want to know something? I am not interested in your witness because that case, if it's a case at all, has absolutely nothing to do with this.
Yes, it does. We
Because
appeared in
you
court on that
wrote
day.
this letter in which you allege, in this letter, which went to Internal Affairs, that he on no less than 3 occasions cursed you. He did not. That was clearly a lie. Now, maybe its intention was to get somebody's attention, but it was a lie because I've just listened to this entire conversation.
Your Honor, the validity of the authenticity of that tape has not been proven.
To my satisfaction, Mr.
Not
Courtney.
to mine and not in a court of law.
Sir, you've subjected yourself to this jurisdiction. This isn't the first case that I've heard, Mr. Courtney. And this isn't the first tape that I've listened to.
Your Honor,
and
I
I'm
asked
telling
for
you
that information. It was not provided.
And I'm telling you that the only one who was giving a hard time that day was you. As a matter of fact, there is some indication on this tape that you threatened him.
Where is
You
that?
said to him something about the last cop who gave me a ticket. And he replied very quietly, I don't care about the last cop that gave you the ticket. Please just sign this ticket. And he didn't threaten to take you to magistrate's court, sir. He only said to you, you can either sign the ticket here, sir, or you can sign it in magistrate's court. Why don't you please sign it here? Then you can be on your way.
But I did sign it.
Mr. Courtney, you were vindictive. The complaint that you made against him was totally without merit, based upon that tape, which is what cleared him. Very smart of the police department to have you carry around these tapes, guys. I want to tell you something. It should have been done a long time ago. Now, I don't believe that Mr. Courtney knew that you had that tape, because if he did, I doubt very much whether he would have consented to appear here today. He did. You're suing him for $5,000. I take judicial notice of the fact that a complaint to Internal Affairs remains on your record, even if there is a finding at the end of an inquiry that there was no basis for the complaint. It does remain on your record. I am granting you your complaint in the amount of $5,000. This case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Good minute.
Well, we have...
57-year-old data technician Brian O'Connell are suing their former daughter-in-law, 33-year-old computer analyst Lysandra Cruz, for an unpaid loan to move. Lysandra is countersuing for harassment.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Thank you. Yeah, this is case number 228 on the calendar in the matter of O'Connell versus Cruz. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. and Mrs. O'Connell, the defendant is your former daughter-in-law.
Correct.
Married to your son, and they had 3 children, according to your complaint. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
right? You claim that you made a loan to her in order for her to be able to relocate, I assume after the divorce,
Yes, ma'am.
with 3 children.
Yes.
And she has not repaid that loan.
Yes.
And the defendant says that loan was no loan, but a gift. So we will get to that. And she has a cross complaint. I don't know what that's about, but I'm sure you'll explain it to me. Okay.
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Just a second. I have questions.
Okay.
At the time that you advanced this money to the defendant, where were you living?
The state of Florida.
And where was the defendant living?
State of Maryland.
And tell me the circumstances surrounding her moving from Maryland to Florida.
Mainly, Your Honor, is that she had called me up on a Sunday afternoon, practically in tears. She didn't know what to do. She was being evicted from the apartment that she was living in because she didn't have the monies for the rent.
When was that?
The beginning of August of 2000.
Okay.
She pretty much begged for our help. She didn't know what to do. Her own mother wouldn't sign a lease for her to make sure that the monies for the rent were paid each month, because if Lisa failed to do that, the mother didn't want to be responsible.
How old were your 3 grandchildren at that time?
At the time,
4, 7, and 11.
And where was your son? In what state?
he was living in New York.
Okay, go ahead.
So she begged for our help. She didn't know what to do. She said she was going to have to go to a shelter or live in the car. She didn't have any money. Could we please help her? We discussed with her what we would be able to do.
Well, what did you say to her and what did she say to you?
We told her that we would advance her the monies to move down here. I would have an apartment rented for her, have to pay first, last, and security. I would have utilities established if I needed to pay a deposit, but that I did expect the monies back from her. We were not in a position to give her a gift. Okay, this was a loan only. I would even have a job secured for her in Florida, which I did. And as long as the utilities and the rent and the apartment was in my name, that I would make sure I would pretty much manage the monies coming in through her salary as well as her child support.
Is this what you discussed with her?
Yes, ma'am, to make sure that everything was paid for.
And what about your son? How come she was penniless in Maryland?
Well, she wasn't penniless, Your Honor. He was paying child support.
How much?
$328 every other week.
So he was paying $150 a week for the support of 3 children.
That's what they deemed necessary for him to pay.
What kind of work does he do?
He's a police officer. Your Honor, if I may, he had offered to pay more, but based upon his salary at the time that he got divorced, he was only told that he needed to pay $154.
I'm just trying to figure out how come she had absolutely no money. Now I understand why she had no money. Is your family in Maryland?
No, it is not.
Where's your family?
My family was in New York.
When you were living with your husband, were you living in New York or in Maryland?
In New York with my ex-husband.
So what did you move to Maryland for?
Maryland, I moved because I have friends there. I just wanted to start over with the kids in a better area.
Had you discussed that with your husband before you moved to Maryland?
With my ex-husband, I had never any contact once he left with the other woman. He never came back.
So he left you in New York?
He left me with the 3 kids, no money, an eviction notice, all the power.
So that's why you moved to Maryland?
Right.
Okay. Go ahead. So then she comes down to Florida.
So we advanced her the monies to come down to Florida.
How much in total did you advance her?
I advanced her a total of almost $9,000, which $2,400 was paid back, and that's where it stopped.
When did she stop making payments to you?
She stopped making payments through her ex-husband's child support in November
What do
of
you mean
2000.
through her ex-husband's child support? What does that mean?
What she was doing is turning over one of the child support checks to me as repayment for what I was advancing her.
Now, when they came down to Florida, your daughter-in-law and the 3 children, did you see them regularly?
Oh, yes, we saw them regularly.
That was a good
They were
thing.
a good part of their life.
And they still see them regularly.
No.
Yes, they
No,
do.
ma'am, we don't.
Yes,
No, ma'am, we don't.
September 8th, they took them to the movies and out to eat. Right after that, the week after, September 15th, my father-in-law took my 3 children to the library and got them library cards. Okay, they do see them. They do.
They may not see them the way they like to see them, but it's good at least that they
Yes,
see them.
they do
That's a
see
good,
them.
That's a good thing.
After that was when I was served, and they have not seen the children, and that was their choice. Never mind. My children have nothing to do with what's going on between us.
Well,
that's
very,
the grandparents.
That's very good.
And they have not called to see them.
You should.
No, we did, Your Honor. That's not
She's not
entirely
living in the
true.
house.
The last time I called her up, I said, I want to establish grandfather night again. I want to be able to take those kids out every Monday like I used to do before. And her word was, I'll think about it.
Your Honor, I'm being charged for every Monday that they took them out.
No, we're not,
No.
Your Honor.
Yes, they are.
Just a second.
Yes,
What do you
I
mean?
am.
What do you mean
If
being
you
charged?
look at the suit that they're charging me, they're charging me for times where they took them out to eat, paper goods, a birthday cake, a birthday present they bought them.
Something must have happened.
They are
What-
jealous of my mom. I can tell you
What
the whole
happened?
story.
All right, because something must have happened to you, because here you have good people,
Yes, very good, and I love them to death for everything
good
they
people
did.
who try to do the right thing. You call up and you say, this is not going well. I'm prepared to come to Florida, but I don't have any money. These don't look like really rich people, right?
Correct.
So it's not as if the money was free-flowing. You did it because you wanted your only 3 grandchildren to have some sort of stability and security. So far they're okay. And for a long time, they were an integral part of the kids' lives. What I want to know is what happened
I can
to
tell you.
change that?
What happened was I came down here first with the children.
To Florida.
To Florida. And everything, like she said, was fine. There was never a verbal agreement of you have to pay me back. It was, we are going to help you because we know that you're having a tough time with no child support from my ex-husband. When I came down, they had everything prepared, which turned out to be a lie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Claire and Brian O'Connell are suing their former daughter-in-law, Lysandra Cruz, for a loan to move. The O'Connells say Lysandra is keeping them from seeing their grandchildren.
Go ahead.
The apartment that supposedly I have proof here that I paid the security and I paid the first month October rent and every rent after that. Once I got here, I took over all the bills, paying them, which I have every receipt and every proof that I have paid every single bill that was under her name.
Were you working?
Yes.
Was it a job that your mother-in-law had found for you?
Yes.
What kind of job?
It is a computer analyst for a bank.
Great.
Yeah.
And who takes care of the children? Who was
They
taking
go
care
to
of
the
children?
YMCA after-school program.
Wonderful. Go ahead.
Okay. So everything was going okay. What started happening was she started meeting me every payday after work and made sure that I went to the bank with her and everything was paid like a little child. It was like a controlling thing started happening.
What was paid?
The phone bill, the light bill, the rent, everything, which I kept saying to her, I can do on my own. I am not a child. I know how to do this. She had the key to the house. She would come into the apartment while I was sleeping. She would come in while I was at work because neighbors would tell me, what was your mother-in-law doing in your apartment while you're working? Started getting very scary. I started calling my mother and telling her, Ma, this is really bad. They have total control of me. I cannot take this. I need help. The whole thing started was she wanted the family together in Florida because they wanted to grow up with the grandchildren.
I think that's
and
great.
everybody be together. That's what happened. Once my mother came down to Florida, she was going to stay with me until she found an apartment and a job. Well, this is where everything happened, where she got very jealous. My mother-in-law, Claire, wanted me to charge my mother $300 a week for my mom to stay with me, which I refused. I said, this is my mother. I cannot charge my mother for staying with me. There is absolutely no way I could do it. She came to the house, confronted me in front of my mom, and said, speak up now, wanted me to tell my mother that she had to pay me to stay, plus the money was going to go to her, not me, even though I was paying the rent.
You mean to pay off this loan?
Supposedly what I owed her. It started all out of jealousy, ma'am. All out of jealousy, Your Honor. And it shouldn't have been this way, because I love them equally.
Oh, all terrible. All very sad. Are you working?
Yes, I am.
You live with your daughter and your 3 grandchildren, or do you have your own place?
I have my own place,
Now.
and now she's living with me. And the
Stand
2
up.
children. Oh, sorry.
Okay. So you left the apartment that your mother-in-law
I was
originally
thrown
found,
out.
and you moved into a new place with your mom.
I was thrown
When
out.
did you do that?
We left the
In
apartment
August.
in August.
Sounds to me like you are a very responsible, caring gal,
Very.
and not, hopefully, not let this interfere with your children having wonderful relationships with both of their sets of grandparents. So that's wonderful. And Mr. and Mrs. O'Connell, I think that you're lovely people.
Yes, but it's not entirely true what she says,
It's
Your
not
Honor.
true what she says, Your Honor.
Listen to me.
Okay.
Miss Cruz, by her own statements, doesn't deny that she owes you some more money, that this was not a gift. Because if she was paying you back, then it's clear to me that it was the understanding between the two of you that the money that you advanced her would be returned when she could.
All right.
It's one of those unusual cases where you all sound like absolutely lovely people, and I'm not going to look at all of your bills and everything else, and I'm going to tell you why, Mr. and Mrs. O'Connell, because I don't want you to say or do anything that will permanently alter the relationship that you have with your daughter-in-law. And you really have to make an arrangement so that they can see the kids sort of regularly, and shouldn't allow this thing here.
Yeah, they do. What I am mostly afraid of, the last time they took my children, my daughter Jessica came back hysterical crying, because as kids they do ask, Grandma, Grandpa, can you buy me this, can you buy me that? She asked them to buy her a sweater. Claire said, I will not buy your sweater because your mother gets child support. Now, how can you tell a child that? My daughter came back hysterical crying. I am totally afraid for them to go with them.
They're not going to say that anymore. If they said it, maybe they need a reality check.
Your Honor, I said, excuse me, Jesse, I love you very much, but Grandma is all spent out, okay? All these times when Daddy wasn't sending the checks, Grandpa and I were paying for everything. I said, we don't have any more money.
How old is this child?
She's 8 years old, and I said, Jesse, I said, now your mommy is getting all of your daddy's child support,
Which
the
I am
current
not.
plus the back child support. I wish I could,
Miss
Jesse.
O'Connell, that is not a discussion that you have with an 8-year-old. Children should never, ever be involved with the finances in a family. Children, all they hear is, there's friction in my family, it's all over money,
Children
my daddy.
should never be heard then. The children.
Right. You're absolutely right. So even though you started out with, I love you very much, you did something very hurtful. Don't show me anything yet.
May I say one thing, Your Honor?
I'm not finished with
I'm
her.
sorry.
So sometimes adults don't always do the right thing, either.
This is what I'm saying. I'm very afraid.
They're not going to do it anymore. Promise?
Promise.
Promise?
Definitely promise, Your Honor.
Promise.
I love them to death. I love my
Promise.
grandchildren so much.
Maybe they didn't realize that it was hurtful to her, but they really have to have sort of a regular...
Yes.
You have any
I
problem
agree.
with that?
I know, I totally agree. I never did have a problem. They've always had the right to see, like I said, the kids. I never put the kids in the middle.
Good.
My understanding is that the children are not living with Lisa's mother any
They're
longer.
living with my
They're with
mother.
me.
Well, do you live with your mother?
Yes.
What makes you think not?
My son, when he came down for a visit, he went over there and says that Lisa is getting another apartment somewhere. She's been saving the child support money to get an apartment.
Listen to me. There ain't that much to save.
Thank you.
She's not becoming rich
No one
on
said
the
she's
amount of
becoming
child
rich.
support that your son is sending to her. Believe me. Listen to me, folks. These children are the innocents. And whatever other agendas everybody has, you have to make sure that the innocents aren't made to feel any worse. Here, they had a wonderful relationship with you. All of a sudden, that's taken away from them because of a dispute amongst adults having nothing to do with them. So these children, if you want them to grow up emotionally secure, you better stop the bickering. Now, Miss Cruz, you owe the O'Connells some money, okay? Because I find that this was not a gift, but it was a loan that they made to you as you could repay them. Now I'm going to hear your counterclaim. Let me hear it.
Your Honor, first of all, I gave in my car when I first moved to Florida in order to get another car. Because of my divorce with my ex-husband and loans that he had, my credit history is no good. They, in turn, say, we will put the car under our name and you make all the payments. Well, Your Honor, that's exactly what I did. Now, when they turned around and got angry with my mom for the jealousy bit with the grandma thing, they went and they stole the car. We went outside and the car was gone.
Okay, you took it back. When did you take it back?
Okay, we took it back August 1st of this year, and the reason that we took it back, Your Honor, is because she had said to my husband, I don't want anything to do with you, I'm not paying you any more monies, leave me alone, don't have anything to do with me.
So you acknowledge that she had made all the payments on this car?
All the payments except for one, Your
No,
Honor.
every
She
single
made all the payments except for one.
For virtually all the payments on this car. Is that right?
Correct.
So the reason you took it back is because she said to you, I'm not giving you any more money.
Exactly.
What did you do with the car?
We have it. We're using it.
Did that leave her without a car?
Yes, it did leave her without a car.
Why would you do that?
because she said to me she's not giving us any more money, she's not making any more payments to us.
So you took back the car?
Yes.
As payment for this loan?
No, Your Honor.
Separate.
No, Your Honor,
No,
Your Honor, it's separate.
No, Your Honor, they
No, it's not separate.
Yes, it is, Your Honor. She had abused privileges that I gave her. She was ruining my credit with
Never.
FPL. She
Your
ruined,
Honor, I have
she
No,
ruined my
I'm
credit.
talking about car.
Okay.
Car.
Nope.
Car. How much did you invest in the car in total?
$3,000, Your Honor. And
No,
every
Your Honor,
single
that's
thing
not
is
true.
here.
That's
Yes,
not
it is.
true, Your Honor.
Every money order's here. You can
Yeah,
count it
that's not true,
yourself.
Your Honor.
You can count it yourself, Your Honor.
That's not true.
Well, how
Your
much, just let me
Honor?
ask you this question. How much money do you say that she has paid into the car?
Okay, $231 for 9 payments. So she used the car in June and hasn't paid me money
You
for
kept
that.
that money.
No. Don't fight, please. I didn't want there to be any fighting. You also include your insurance in
Yes,
that bill.
that's
I'm just
not
talking about the
fine.
car payments.
And that's not counting my car that I gave in, the 1994 Taurus.
And how much did you get for that?
$400 they put towards the bill of the car.
Okay. So all this started a whole bunch of problems. All started because you say your mother-in-law, they got jealous. She wanted you to charge your mother rent in order to pay her back faster. You said no. They got annoyed. To make a long story short, you've paid in $2,079 on the car. In addition, $400 you got as a trade-in for your old car. You had the use of this car, but you took this car back sort of in partial payment of whatever debt she owed you. So I'm deducting that from the cost of the $5,000. And I want to tell you something else. I think that you're not being terribly smart, the O'Connells. If Miss Cruz is saying what she means, which is she cares for you both, and that she's really very sorry for all of these bad things that happened between the two of you, and these are your only 3 grandchildren, I would, as my grandson would say, suck it up. Because I think you're making a big mistake for taking this any further. In any event, I find that she does not owe you the $5,000 that you're requesting. I am doing a set-off with the counterclaim. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,571. That is it.
We're also suing for our computer, Your Honor, which she has that we want back.
They gave
Just
that
a
to their
second.
grandson.
Goodbye. For the defendants.
Correct.
On several different occasions, several different periods of time. And it is your claim that you are owed some wages because you were let go from your job.
Yes.
And you had worked 30 hours.
Correct.
The defendants, while they seem to acknowledge that you were owed wages at the time you left, they say they really owe you nothing because you made a false claim to Child Protective Services about the way that they care for their children, and they are counterclaiming in the amount of $3,000 because of what they say that you put them through. Miss Lindsay, when and where did you find Miss Allen to babysit for your children?
Well, Miss Allen was our children's first babysitter.
And you have 2 children?
We have 3, ma'am.
How long did she babysit for you?
This last time was for 9 months.
And prior to that?
It was off and on for a number of months.
And she was a good babysitter?
Yes, ma'am.
Took good care of your children? You felt
Yes, ma'am.
comfortable about leaving her with the children?
We trusted her, yes, ma'am.
Good. Miss Allen, then I'm going to come to you. I want you to tell me what happened that caused you to call Child Protective Services and when?
On numerous occasions, the kids would not have enough to eat. They would ask me, can I have some more? I was like, well, there's no more food. And I would offer them, like, okay, give me $100. I'll be more than happy to go to the commissary. It's base where the food's a whole lot cheaper. And, you know, I'll get the food and stuff like that for them. No big deal. No. We're going to go out. We have our monthly budget. And every end of the month, they go to Sam's and everything, come back with the same thing. And we do the same thing over. The kids' shoes were too small. I purchased a pair of shoes for the 4-year-old girl. We had to go up 2 sizes, and that was in the end of '06. I bought the shoes for her, and I started working for them in August. So that time, her shoes were too small. We bought the baby shoes. She was not a year at the time, and the kids were not getting baths. The dad would go out of town. Every other week, he'd go out of town. No big deal. Mom said it's going to be a long week. Could you give the kids a bath? And I would. But when Dad comes home at 5:30, I would not give the kids a bath. I come in at 10:30 in the morning. The kids had the same clothes on that I put them in the day before. I was like, did you guys get a bath? No, Miss Sandra, could we get a bath? So I was like, well, it's time to get dressed, so we'll just change clothes, and we'll just go out and do our stuff and everything.
What did you tell Child Protective Services when you called them?
That the kids were being neglected and weren't being supervised properly.
Go ahead.
On one occasion, Miss Dasher told me personally that the neighbor down the street came in and told her that the oldest son was sitting, they have a 2-story house, and the son was sitting out on his window throwing things out. And the screen's missing, so he was throwing things out of his window.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Lindsay?
I'm a cook.
For whom?
For a company called Sodexo.
You work full-time?
Yes, ma'am.
And you, sir?
Systems analyst for the same company.
Well, you both have good jobs. You've been working for a while for this company?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any financial problems?
No.
Miss Allen, before you called Child Protective Services, did you discuss with Miss Lindsay and Mr. Lyles your concerns?
No, I did not.
You did not. Who is this lady?
It's my mother.
Would you step up, please? Tell me your last name. When, if ever, did your daughter start to discuss with you the concerns she had about these children?
It was last year. She was seeing different things, and in our area they have a lot of yard sales, and she asked me if I would go out if I could look for clothes in the children's size and shoes because they were too small, or the winter time. What she said, I'm not sure if it was the 4-year-old didn't have clothes that would fit her for the winter, so I was trying to find jeans and turtlenecks and stuff. And she would bring them over to the house sometime, and I would fix some lunch and everything because she would say the cup of noodles, that was all they would be eating for lunch, and the sodium in that soup thing was kind of high for a child. So.
Did she discuss with you before she called Child Protective Services?
No, but she told me that, you know, something needed to be done about what was going on, and I told her, you know, do what she needed to do.
Okay. Do you have the report from Child Protective Services? I'd like to see it.
Yes, ma'am. I have two, the original when they first came out on the 20th, and the second from the actual caseworker.
How many times did the caseworker visit you in the 2-week period between the date that the report was received and the day they closed the case?
Just twice. The first time, which is A, and then the second time, which is B, when they closed the case. Because on the first visit, she stated that there was nothing but discrepancies in the claims, that the allegations that was made.
Okay. Miss Lindsay or Mr. Lyles, do you have any motive for Miss Allen to have placed this call after the years that she spent with you taking care of your children?
Possibly, yes, ma'am.
Well, I'd like to hear what you think the possible motive is.
That Monday, before the 20th, I believe it was the 16th, Miss Allen came in, normal day. I had spoken to her in regards to, we was paying her extra stipend for gas because she would pick our son up from school, so we give her extra money on top of her pay each week. Well, gas prices in our area were rising. And she came to me and she stated, Miss Dasher, the news said by Memorial Day, gas prices are going to be sky high. Can I please get more gas money? And I said, well, how much do you want? Because I was previously paying her $20 extra a week for gas. She said $30, and I said, fine, no problem. Okay, that was taken care of. Right before I was getting ready to go to work that day, I reminded Miss Allen that we were soon to be putting our two oldest children, the 4- and the 5-year-old, in private school, in which we was going to be paying for private school, and the only one that would be left would be our 2-year-old. And once we're paying for private school, we wouldn't be able to pay her the same amount that we pay her currently for her nanny services.
Well, how much were you paying her an hour?
$7 an hour during the week, and if she worked on the weekends, it would be $9 an hour, plus the
So you
stipend
wanted
for
to pay her
gas.
less than $7 an hour?
I didn't want
No,
to.
we were cutting the hours back. That was what we were telling her.
Oh, you were just cutting her hours back?
Yes, it was more like a pre-notice to possibly a 2-week notice when the children started private school. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, and what did she say?
She didn't state much. She said, well, that's fine. By August, I planned on having moved out of my parents' home.
So she wasn't upset about it?
She didn't seem upset, no.
No, she wasn't upset about that, so that's not a reason. I don't see any reason that she would have, quite frankly, Miss Lindsay, of making this phone call unless she had some legitimate concerns over the 3 children. And the fact that the state didn't find any gross abnormality in your house doesn't mitigate the fact that she felt as if you and your husband may have been a little overwhelmed with full-time jobs and 3 little children, working very hard. You have financial things in the works, private school and all that stuff. Whatever it was, I don't get from Miss Allen that she was being vindictive about anything. You have a reason she might call?
I mean, my sister told me that she was going through personal issues.
Well, first of all, that's hearsay. Second of all, going through personal issues would not necessarily mean she would take it out on you.
Well, it doesn't make sense that she would call. The things that were going on did not happen. I mean, she put our kids in danger.
How did she put your kids in danger?
Because Child Protective Services could have took them away.
Well, they could have if they found that they were substantially neglected or abused. They absolutely could have, but we don't discourage people in this country if they have legitimate concerns from making a report to Child Protective Services so that somebody can come out and take a look at a situation and make sure everything is right. Problem is, too many people don't do anything. And unless I find that there was some motivation other than legitimate concern for the children's safety, I'm dismissing your counterclaim, and she's going to get the wages that were owed to her. Her mother seems to say, who is a lady that I assume you knew,
Yes, ma'am, we did.
that her daughter had confided in her previously that she was concerned about the children.
She never confided in us. Up until that day, Miss Allen and I had never had any problems communicating.
You may not have had any problems. Do you remember when she bought your 4-year-old shoes?
She bought my 2-year-old shoes.
Or your 2-year-old shoes? Do you remember when she did that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know why she did that?
I had just bought my 2-year-old shoes. She
Yeah,
did
we
it
have
because
the 2 pairs of shoes.
Yes.
It is unlikely that she would have spent her money, the hard-earned money that the $7 an hour, which is the
She
minimal
didn't have
amount.
any bills.
What?
She didn't have any bills.
I have bills.
She didn't have any bills, so she should spend the money on your children?
No, she liked doing things for our children. She took them to McDonald's. She did things for them. That was.
So she was a really good caregiver.
Yes, she was.
We're not.
Well,
She
then
had no right to
something-
call Child Protective
Yes,
Services.
she did.
There was nothing wrong with the way we
That's
raised
the
our
way,
children.
that's your perception. But if she's the kind of caregiver that you say she is, to her eye, these children were not being adequately cared for while in your care. And before the state takes children away, there has to be some overriding reason, because they got plenty of children in foster care. So if it's a question of children not getting more than noodle soup or not getting a bath every day, they're not going to remove children from a home. But that doesn't mean somebody who loves the children, as she clearly did according to you, should tolerate what she perceives as neglect. So your counterclaim is dismissed. You owe her $226 salary and $30 for gas. Hey, that's all.
A neglectful babysitter.
Miss Oliver, it is your claim that the defendant owes you some money for babysitting services, and the defendant says you've been paid. She's counterclaiming because she says because you were such an inefficient sitter, she lost money. When did you start babysitting for a child or children?
2 children. We had an interview on the 5th of January, and then she started the 8th of January.
And how did you find her?
My father had given me her number because she was running a local ad in one of the papers for daycare. So
How old are your children?
I have a son that will be 3 in a couple months, and my daughter just turned 6.
All right, January 8th is when she started, and what was the financial arrangement?
Anywhere from $150 to $170 a week.
Now, the first week that you babysat, did she pay you?
Yes.
And the second week?
Yes.
So we're talking about 1 full week of $150 that you claim she didn't pay you for.
The last week of her 2 weeks' notice.
What do you mean the last week of her 2 weeks' notice?
She gave 2 weeks' notice. She paid the first week, and she didn't pay the last week.
What days did she bring the children to you during that second week?
The last week, Monday, she brought both her children. Tuesday, she called me, and she said that she had been out drinking the night before, and she was hungover, so she would not be bringing her children Tuesday.
That's Tuesday.
Yes.
No, that's not true.
Wednesday, she brought both her children. Her little son had a terrible diaper rash, and he had diarrhea at my house that day. I called her to come pick her son up because he was ill. I actually had to take him upstairs and bathe him because he had defecated all over himself and all down my carpet.
Okay, go ahead.
The next day, Thursday, she brought him. He had defecated in his pants.
So he was soiled again?
Yes, he
What
was.
about her daughter?
Her daughter had diarrhea that morning, but she went to school.
Well, she's 6.
Yes.
Just a second. But she was there at your facility, at your home?
Yes.
The daughter, until she went to school?
Correct.
Okay. And Friday?
Thursday, when she came to pick up her son, I called her and said, he cannot stay here. He is ill. I have got to put my other children in high chairs and fasten them in, and I have to take care of him. And it's dangerous. It's not respectful to my other kids or for me. I said, you need to pick him up. And she became very angry, saying he was not ill,
Okay.
and she tried to pass it off.
Okay. Ms. DiMarino, why did you give your 2 weeks' notice?
It's because I noticed that the level of care wasn't necessarily where it needed to be. The week right before I gave my 2-week notice, my son had his hand slammed in the door. He was unable to use his hand for a couple of weeks. His fingernails, in turn, fell off. I was never notified. I was never called. The first time I found out about this was when I arrived at her house. Now, my children seem to like her. However, she did not work well for me. Sometimes my job demands that I stay later. I can unfortunately never count on her to do so. I realized I'd made a bad mistake, and my previous child care provider had been in Egypt on vacation for over a month, so I decided to go back. I gave her my 2-week notice.
When you gave her your 2-week notice, the first week your children went to her home?
Yes, ma'am.
Every day?
No, ma'am. She went to the funeral that week. That was complete oversight on my part, and I paid her for the full week.
Did you go to a funeral that week?
Yes, ma'am.
What day did you go to a funeral?
Tuesday.
Were you available to babysit?
I was not.
Were you paid?
I was. And everybody else paid the full
I
amount.
don't care what everybody else did. Everybody else is not suing.
Well, I gave her credit of $120. The 3 days, I've added a $10 late fee as per our agreement that we had.
Just a second. It's not a late fee. There is a dispute as to whether or not you're entitled to be paid. So forget late fee.
Ma'am, she signed an agreement with me that she would pay a late fee.
Listen to me very carefully, which is why you are here. Do you understand? I want you to forget late fee. That's not happening.
She signed a contract that
Listen to
said
me.
that she would pay.
Listen to me.
Regardless if her children were ill.
I want you to pay careful attention to me. Anywhere in your contract does it say if you are unavailable to babysit, you get paid anyway?
No, ma'am.
So that some things are not covered by a contract. Is that right?
Right, but others
When
are.
there is a dispute as to whether or not you are entitled to payment, that falls outside the contract, just as the fact that you had a funeral to attend and you couldn't get anybody else to cover for you because your job is very personal in nature.
Correct.
So when you can't babysit for people whose jobs depend upon you doing your job, very often they lose their wages from their job. Correct? Do you understand? Yes. That's why sometimes contracts don't cover every eventuality. You are not entitled to be paid for the day you took off.
I'm not asking for that.
But you were paid.
That's why I gave her credit the next week.
But you were paid. Well, if you gave her credit the next week, let us assume that you're entitled to $150 for the week. That would mean that you are really only entitled to $120.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're suing her for $150. So now we're down to $120. Now, you explain to me why you don't feel as if your children went there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yes, ma'am. They were not there Tuesday because I had some prior arrangements.
That has nothing to do with her.
Absolutely.
That has no use. You have to pay her for that.
I had every intention upon paying her. Had my son came back being said that he was sick, which is what I told Miss Oliver on Thursday when she called me and said, you are aware you do owe me $120. And if you do not pay me by Friday at midnight, I will start adding $10 late fee. I said, that's fine. You're entitled to do whatever you need to do. However, my son will be at the doctor's at 4:30 today. If he is given a clean bill of health, I will not pay you a dime. If it is said that he was sick, I will pay you. My son was taken to the doctor. He wasn't sick. There was nothing wrong with him. She's the only person.
Show me the doctor's letter.
Yes, ma'am. My doctor is semi-retired, so all I could get was their notes. He won't be back until Thursday. State of Virginia will not release the records to you.
Well, then that's not particularly helpful.
I know it's not. It's the best I could do because Dr. only comes in a couple times a month. However, I have a statement from my sitter.
I don't need a statement. I don't read statements
She's
from
giving
you.
birth
I
in 2
don't
weeks.
read statements from your sitter.
She can't.
I don't read statements from your sitter.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You know, sometimes when a child has an upset stomach, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're sick.
Yes, ma'am.
But sometimes it does. And sometimes, if the daycare provider believes that the other children in her care are at risk,
yes, ma'am,
then the prudent thing for her to do is to say, listen, I don't want to risk the other children's health here. So, but there is no question that you owe her $120.
Even for the fact that I paid a separate daycare provider for that whole entire week, and she kept my children for 3 hours.
Listen, if for some reason you were unhappy,
I was.
You should have done what every reasonable parent does, which is not send your children at all. If you questioned her ability to care for your children. What?
According to her contract, I would have been liable.
Are you kidding me or what?
That's what it says.
No, are you kidding me or what? I mean, you're telling me that you question her ability to care for your children, but according to the contract, you'd be liable to pay for them anyway, so...
I would, unless without 2 weeks. Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you this question. You take your children to an amusement park.
Yes, ma'am.
And you buy your ticket.
Yes, ma'am.
And after you buy your ticket, somebody in the amusement park says to you, you know, I heard that yesterday 4 children were killed on that ride that you're going on. Now, you got your ticket in your hand. What do? You
don't go.
You don't, just a second. You don't go. You take your ticket, you throw it in the garbage because you're a mother, and you say, I'm not taking any chances. I don't care if I lose the $1.50 or the $3 or the $6 on the ticket. I'm not risking my children on a ride that could be dangerous. So if you question the ability of a daycare provider to provide for your children, irrespective of whether you owe them the money, you don't take them.
Which is why they didn't come back.
Just as you don't take them. You don't say, I'm liable to pay. Hey. I'm liable to pay the money, which is why I sent them. Now, that's what you just said to me. You said you sent them because you were liable to pay anyway.
And there was no immediate danger, except for the fact that when she said there was something wrong with my son, nobody else observed this except for her.
Oh, I don't believe that that's true. Miss DiMarino, I don't believe that she sent your son home with you and called you when she felt as if the child had an upset stomach, had a bad stomach. Could have been a virus, could not have been a virus, whatever. My sense is that she sent him home as much because it was a pain in the neck for her as anything else, because she says she had other children to take care of, and she was devoting all of her time to take care of your son and cleaning her carpet, which was irritating to her. Well, that's unfortunate. That's what you have to do when you take care of little babies. That's what you get paid for. In any event, you owe her $120. It was a bad experience. You got to pay her. Stop being a crybaby. If you didn't take your children there at all, and you said to me the last week, look, I felt my children were at risk at her house, and therefore I'm not taking them, and you didn't take them, I might have had a little sympathy for you. But you took them. I have zero. You owe her $120. That's all.
Thank you.
Your countersuit is dismissed. It's nonsense. Your countersuit for your lost wages when she couldn't take care of your child. It's nonsense.
It wasn't for that.
Yes, it was.
No, ma'am, it was for the fact of, it wasn't for when she couldn't take care of my children. My countersuit was for when I had to miss a whole day of work because it was President's Day. She forgot to inform me she would not be taking care of my children. It was President's Day. I showed up with my children in tow, and I missed a whole entire day of work.
Which day was that?
It was President's Day.
February 19th.
February 9th. Is that in your contract?
It is. I take off all state holidays.
Is it in the contract?
Yes, it is.
Show me. That's all. Just has to be in the contract.
That I take off all state holidays, and if she did not know what state holidays were...
Just show me. State holidays are observed, and I will generally not be providing care on those days.
Correct.
However, if needed, it can be arranged for an additional $40 a day.
She did not ask me to.
Just a second. Why?
Because those are the days my husband has off, and that's when we spend family time together. I do not take a vacation during the year like a lot of other daycare providers do.
Please ask for a list of state-observed holidays. Did you ask for that list?
I didn't need. I knew.
Did
when
you
it was.
ask for that list?
No, ma'am. I
Okay.
have a calendar.
So you know it was state holiday.
I did, and I thought I had arranged
No,
that
she did
day
not.
until I showed up and she answered the door in her pajamas 15 minutes later.
Just a second. What do you mean you thought you had arranged for her to
Because
take care?
I said I needed to work. I was aware that it was President's Day, so was she. I said I have to work on Monday. She answered the door in her pajamas and said, well, I'm not keeping any of my other children today, so I will not be keeping yours either.
Yeah, no, you don't got it. When did you arrange to have her babysit that day on the state holiday?
The prior week.
The prior week.
Yes,
did
ma'am.
she?
She did not.
No, she made that up. Just
No.
Counterclaims dismissed. That's nonsense.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Claims Nick tried to run him over.
Where's the girlfriend?
She didn't want to come. She couldn't make it because of work.
Didn't want to come sounds
did not
like a
wanna come.
better answer.
Probably.
Mr. Foster, the defendant is your ex-girlfriend's current boyfriend?
At the time, yeah.
And according to your complaint, one evening he was drunk and disorderly and damaged your car. Mr. Green says that he might have damaged your car, but that was because you tried to run him over. So why don't you tell me this story of intrigue?
Basically, my ex-girlfriend, who I've been together with on and off for 5 years now, she called me over about 4 o'clock in the morning. Sure.
Had you been sleeping when she called?
Trying to, no.
What were you doing?
I was getting home from a night out.
Was this a Saturday night?
It was a Thursday night.
So you were just coming in at 4 o'clock in the morning?
No, I was home probably about 2 o'clock, but she called me at 4 o'clock.
And you figured this is too good to pass up? I'm going over.
Yep.
Had you been drinking?
Earlier that night, yes.
And what happened when you got to her house?
I stayed over there for about hour and a half, and decided to leave.
Who does she live with?
She lives with her mother and her father.
How did she get you into the house?
The front door.
What happened when you left?
Her father was awake, so I decided to go out the back door. That's where I saw the defendant passed out in the backyard.
What were you doing in the backyard passed out, Mr. Green?
I was passed out there because my girlfriend had left with my buddy's girlfriend to go to the store to get cigarettes. I passed out. I wake up. He's chasing my girlfriend around.
You're getting ahead of yourself, sir. I'm asking the questions. Where were you earlier in the evening of the 8th of September?
We were at the bar drinking, me and Jacqueline.
Jackie's the girlfriend.
Yes.
How did you get to her house?
Her car.
Who drove?
I did.
You drove the car drunk?
Yes.
And when you got there, she told you couldn't come in?
No, I was outside smoking a cigarette. I was not allowed to smoke in the house.
And you just fell asleep?
Yes.
Passed out?
Mm-hmm.
You were awakened at about what time?
Around 4 o'clock in the morning.
And tell me what you sort of remember.
So I remember seeing him chasing my girlfriend around the back patio. He ran out the back door and through the back gate.
So he went out the back door?
Yeah, after he had went in the back door.
He went out. No, you didn't see him go in.
I seen him
No,
running,
no,
chasing
you
my
don't listen to me.
girlfriend. All right.
Mr. Green, let's get it together, sir.
All right, I'm getting it together.
You didn't see him go in, correct?
Yeah.
But you saw him come out.
Yes.
You don't know what time he went in.
I don't really know what went on, to tell you the
When
truth.
you were in the house with your ex-girlfriend and the father woke up, was he angry?
He was upstairs.
What caused your girlfriend to leave the house?
I decided that I needed to leave. So she said, go out the back door. We could hear him walking upstairs. Upon doing that, that's when I noticed that he was outside. I asked her, what is he doing here? Why are you calling me at 4 o'clock in the morning if he's here? So I guess he heard us talking outside, came downside and told us all to leave.
You mean the father?
Yes.
When he said he told you all to leave, what did he say to you?
He said, everyone leave.
That was nice. I would have probably phrased it differently. So what did you do, Mr. Green?
I left.
Well, how did you come in contact with Mr. Foster's car?
After I had walked up the street, he come following me up the street. Me and him got into a fight.
How did you get into a fight? Explain
He got
that.
out his car. He started running his mouth. Me and him got into a fight, started walking across the street. Then he got back into his car, come across the street, tried to run me over. I had to jump out of the way, and I threw a rock at his back window and busted his window out.
Why did you throw a rock at his back window?
It's an ongoing thing with him. It's, you know, he's been stalking us.
I'm asking you, what did the rock have to do with this altercation that you had?
He tried to run me over. He tried to kill me.
Go ahead, Mr. Foster.
What he said was correct to a point. Yes, we did get into car to run my mouth because he kicked us out of my car. His friends came over and separated us.
Where were your friends? What are all these people doing at 5 o'clock in the morning?
He woke him
They're not
up.
my friends.
We woke him up arguing, and they were right across the street.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
I'm 25.
It's not even the youth of America. Yes, go ahead. So,
Well, when you're standing in the middle of the street as I'm trying to leave, yes, I guess you could say I tried to hit him.
with your car?
Well, yeah, if I'm driving in the middle of the street, he's in the middle of the street, then yes, I guess you could say I tried to hit him.
Yeah, go ahead.
He came after me as I pulled over. He came with a pipe of some sort, smashed the side of my car on the driver's door, then the back door, then smashed out the back window.
Does that sound right, Mr. Green?
No.
Well, how did all the windows get broken on his car?
I don't know how all the windows got broken. I know I busted the back window out. I didn't bust any of the other windows out.
Can I see pictures of the car, please?
The other windows were not busted out. It's the side, or the top of my car, on the side of my car, that was damaged with a pipe.
What kind of car do you have?
Grand Prix.
Ooh, no, that's a pipe, Mr. Green. That's not a rock, sir. That's pipe. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a roofing supervisor.
A what?
Roofing supervisor.
If I were to spend my days up on the top of a roof, I don't think I would get as sauced as you do, sir.
I take off when I want.
That's responsible.
I pick my days.
Can I see the estimates on your car, please? Either one of you treated at any hospital or by any doctor on the night of the 8th or the 9th of September?
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Treated by a doctor or a hospital?
No, it was not.
Okay, so we're not talking about any injuries to you. We're talking about two people who had been drinking a lot, right? Let me ask you a question. Did you have a fight with your ex-girlfriend that evening?
No.
Did you ask her whether or not she'd called him to come over?
Yes, I did.
And what did she say?
She said no.
But you see, that's a lie, because she let him in the house.
You know, when somebody stalks you so much, then you can only do so much.
Listen to me. If somebody's stalking, uncross your hands. Somebody's stalking you, you don't resolve his stalking by calling him at 4 o'clock in the morning to come over to the house. And you don't let him in the house, sir.
Yeah, well, he's coming to my house 2:30 in the morning.
I don't care about your house. I'm talking about the girlfriend's house, sir.
I'm not worried about that no more.
Listen, when you drink, you have to pay the piper. I don't think your girlfriend was honest with you, sir, with regard to what happened that evening. Maybe she was a little drunk, too, which is why she called Mr. Foster over. Certainly her father got fed up with all of you, told you all to leave. If he was afraid for his daughter's life, he would have taken her into the house and said, you guys get out of here because you're placing my entire family at risk. So I think that's something you really have to look into. And maybe if you had a clear head, Mr. Green, and weren't so infused with alcohol, you could look at the situation a little more clearly. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,941. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Children do you have, sir?
6.
Who is your oldest child?
Stephanie.
That's this child here?
Yes.
And your youngest?
Brandon.
How old is Brandon?
Brandon is 8.
You and Mrs. McLean were married for how long?
2 years, I believe.
And how many children do you have together?
2.
Your daughter is planning her wedding, and according to her, you and your former husband agreed to split the cost of the wedding. You did a budget, it was going to be $5,000. Mr. Reed, you agreed to pay for half.
Correct.
You did, in fact, pay $2,500.
Yes, ma'am.
But the wedding went over budget, and you want him to pay half of the overage of $800.
Yes.
And Mr. Reed says, you went over budget, girls. That's your problem. I agreed to pay for half the wedding, which was budgeted at $5,000, and that's what I'm going to pay.
I agree.
Why did you go over budget?
Well, the reason we had gone...
Don't listen. Did you have a nice wedding?
Yeah.
Huh?
She had a beautiful wedding.
Beautiful wedding, beautiful bride, beautiful husband, nice-looking parents. Don't act... What?
I said yes, thank you.
Do you let him speak at home? Is that the reason he feels compelled to speak here? Because he's not allowed to speak at home?
Don't speak, honey.
She's cute. Okay, now getting back to you. Why did you go over budget?
Well, the reason we had gone over budget was we had it at the reception at a place that cost a lot more money than we had anticipated.
Now, when you realized that this was going to cost more than you anticipated, because you could have found a site that would have cost within the budget, but that's not what you really wanted, right? You wanted a different place. What did you do when you realized you were going over budget?
Well, Stephanie and I did a lot of emails back and forth because she actually lives in Utah. And I was planning the wedding here. And so I had told her that it looked like we were probably going to go over the cost of the wedding. And so she was kind of my in-between person between her dad and I, and had emailed to him and his current wife that we were going to be probably going over the budget.
Do you have an email from him indicating that's fine, I will pay half of whatever the overage is?
I do.
Let me see it.
This was actually an email to Stephanie.
That's fine. Well, this is not from Mr. Reed. This is from Mr. Reed's wife.
Right.
Do you know that your wife sent an email, sir, that said, listen, that's to Steph, and said, your dad and I don't have a problem if you go over the $5,000 sum, as long as your mom is willing to split the cost. Do you know that your wife said that?
At the time that email was written, no, I wasn't aware that she said that.
When did you become aware of this?
I became aware about 1 to 2 weeks before the wedding as we discussed the overage.
So your wife was speaking allegedly for you, which she can't do, but they acted upon this and then went over their budget. Do you understand?
Yes.
So it was really in good faith that your daughter went over the budget because she felt as if she was dealing with your wife, and your wife had the authority to say, okay, as long as mom splits the cost and as long as it not go. So when you found out, Mr. Reed, about this email, what did you do?
Well, by the time I had found out about the comment that my wife made, things had already become contentious because all along I had made it clear to Holly that I agreed to a certain amount. Not only that, in the beginning, Holly wanted to spend far less. I actually felt that we should spend more, and it was my suggestion to pay the $5,000. Then come
Is
back.
that true?
That's true.
That's a good guy.
So to then come back to me and then say that she wanted me to pay more money, and not only that, in the beginning when she wanted me to pay the overage, she wanted me to pay the entire overage, which she estimated would be $300 to $400. And like I say, it became contentious, and so I said, we're going to have to settle the matter after the wedding. I don't want it to affect the wedding.
You're absolutely right, Mr. Reed. So?
So?
Well, he did not agree to pay half of the overage.
I know he did not agree to pay half. But when I had sent them an email stating why we had gone over, and he even told me on the wedding day that he would help me pay the overage of the wedding.
Did you tell her that, Mr. Reed?
What I said is that I would look at the expenses and analyze them and get back to her.
And did you look at the expenses?
I did.
Anything there look untoward to you?
The invitations cost $280 more than we had originally was discussed with my wife, Suzanne. There was a DJ that I knew nothing about, and he cost $450.
Well, DJ is great at a wedding. Did everybody have a good time?
I think so.
Did you dance?
A little bit.
I didn't say if you danced well, Mr. Reed. I said, did you dance?
I did.
Other than the DJ for $450, was it originally anticipated that there was any music?
There was going to be pre-recorded music. Okay.
I have very little sympathy because if what we're talking about here is $800, I would have paid the $2 so we wouldn't end up here. So there wouldn't be any bad feeling. You probably already paid so much to raise your daughter to this point, right? Probably cost you a couple of bucks over the course of, how old are you?
19.
19 years? So I don't know whether I would make a big to-do. But let's see. All right, the DJ, what else?
Let's see. There was a video that was done that was presented at the wedding. It was a nice video. It was $210.
A video of what?
They interviewed Stephanie and Tim about the way they met and things like that. And it was shown at the wedding. Yes, it was nicely done. But once again, I knew nothing about it. The bridesmaids' outfits, traditionally the bridesmaids pay for those.
That's absolutely right. Why didn't the bridesmaids pay for their own outfits?
Well, Stephanie and I discussed that we would just take care of that.
Well, I don't know. You can't do that and obligate him. Ms. McLean. First of all, it's not traditional.
Right.
And second of all, you can't be magnanimous with his money. What else?
The last one is traditionally a portion of the flowers are paid for by the groom or the groom's family. So the portion of those flowers, I have it listed at $248.
Can I say something about the flowers? I didn't feel we should ask Tim's family to pay for the flowers. They were actually having a reception in Arizona a week later, and they were paying for everything there for that reception. And they also paid for the luncheon, so I didn't feel it was right to ask them to also pay for the flowers.
Well, very nice. What do you want from him? He doesn't want to be used as a cash register.
Oh, I understand.
Which is, we'll make the arrangements, and you'll pay your half. And we don't have to consult with you. We're going to tell you this is what we want to do, and if it goes over, it goes over. Well, that's unreasonable.
Well, there's more to it than that.
You may explain it to me. But did you call him and tell him about the DJ before you hired the DJ?
No.
Did you call him and tell him that you were going to pay for the bridesmaids' dresses before you agreed to pay for them?
No.
Did you call him and tell him you decided not to ask the bridegroom's family for the flowers?
Yes, we did tell them that.
When?
Before the wedding, when he had stated that they thought that the groom's family had to pay for part of the flowers.
And what did you say? You told him no.
I didn't agree with that.
Fine. That doesn't mean he's not entitled to say, that's fine. You want to pay for that? Pay for it.
Okay, but there's more to it. Where we had the reception, we actually wanted to have it at my parents' house so we could cut the costs. Well, Steve didn't want to have it there.
I don't blame him.
It would have been, the cost would have been a lot less.
Miss McLean, what you just said to me has absolutely nothing to do with what I've told you, which is you cannot use your former husband as a cash register. He's a person with opinions, and as long as you want to spend money and you want him to reimburse you for the money, he has the right to an opinion. You may not agree with that opinion, and if you don't agree with it and you want to spend the money, you spend it. What he's complaining about is you didn't discuss it with him, and that was wrong. I just want you to understand that I don't think your father was wrong. I think your mother was well-intentioned, but I don't think your father was wrong. And I've been involved with lots of weddings, and I wouldn't think of saying to my ex-husband, you're going to pay for half, and I'm going to decide where it's going to be, what kind of music we have, what flowers we have, what the invitations look like, and I'll send you the bill for half. Right?
But we did...
Flattened out on the floor. And I wouldn't blame him. So, in case there's any bad feeling, I don't think your father was wrong. And Miss McLean, if you wanted to do these things and you chose not to get an agreement with him before, you pay for it yourself. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was sold it without her permission.
Ms. Stewart, according to what I read in your complaint, you and the defendant were an item some time ago, and while you were together, you loaned him a precious guitar.
Yes.
That had been given to you. You explained to me why it's so sentimental. You gave it to Mr. Marriott to use, according to him, in his band. And then you broke up. According to him, this was a gift. He had no use for it after a period of time. And then it was sold. Not by him, but by his mother. Where did you get this guitar?
My father had given me the guitar for a Christmas present before
When?
he passed away in 2001.
So it was sentimental for you?
Yes, it was very.
And when did your father pass away?
He passed away 5 months later.
Why did he give you a guitar?
He, for some reason, decided that I was going to play bass guitar, so he finally just bought one for me.
Did you learn?
No, he passed away before I could get lessons.
How come you gave it to him?
Lack of judgment. I shouldn't have.
Tell me when you gave it to him.
The following year.
When in 2002?
May.
Summer, fall, winter, or spring?
Spring.
And when did you break up with him?
We had broken up before then, actually.
Well, then, why transfer this sentimental guitar to someone with whom you no longer had a relationship?
We were still friends at the time, and we were still on good terms. Like I said, better lack of judgment.
Well, tell me about when you turned it over to him. I want to hear.
He was at his house. I drove with my current boyfriend to drop it off.
Why would you do that?
He asked if he could loan the guitar. We had actually discussed it before when we were dating, and so it came up as, remember when you said I could borrow the guitar? And he stated that he needed it to go on tour with his band, and I said that I would loan it to him until I needed it back.
When did you think you were going to need it back?
I wasn't sure.
Did you ask to borrow the guitar for the group to go on tour?
Yes, I did. And the band didn't end up going on tour. And after that, I just put it in my garage and it just sat there. And I didn't hear from her for 2 years.
That's not true.
Well, when was the next time you contacted him about your guitar?
I was unable to get a hold of him for about a few months, and then before I left, I found him online again.
Well, just a second. You drove it over to his house, you said. Did he move?
Yes, he did.
No forwarding address?
He would not take my phone calls, and so the only way I was able to contact him was online. And I contacted him, and I said I was moving to San Diego, and I was going to need the guitar back to take with me. He said it was in storage and that it would be fine, and it would be returned, no questions asked.
When was this?
September of 2003.
Did you have it in storage?
Yes, I did.
Could you stand up? You don't need anything to hold on to, right? When she contacted you and you said it was in storage, you were telling her the truth.
No, actually, I wasn't.
Well, was it in storage or wasn't it in storage?
It was in storage, and then my mother sold it.
So this wasn't a couple of years later. This was a year later, September of 2003, when she contacted you and you told her it was in storage, you can have it back, no problem. So you were lying.
I actually contacted her, which is the funny thing, because I found her on a site called MySpace. And if I would have known that she would have attacked me on the internet for this guitar.
Your Honor, that was 2 years later.
When she contacted you and said, I'm moving to San Diego.
She told me that she was in San Diego when she contacted me. I was also looking for her, too.
Why were you looking for her?
So I could give it back to her before my mom was going to sell it.
Did your mother have permission to sell it?
Yes, she did.
She had your permission to sell it?
Yes, because
How big is this bass guitar?
Like this.
Where were you living, and where was your mother living?
I was living in Campbell with my grandparents, and my mother was living in Gilroy.
Why couldn't you take the guitar with you?
Because I kept on moving around too myself, and I wasn't going to carry someone else's belongings with me.
Oh. Did you have any clue that this was a gift from her father?
No, I did not.
Is that right?
No, he would have known. It was a very sentimental thing, and I would have told him.
Yeah, I assume you would have told him.
If it was so sentimental, why would you let me borrow it?
Like I said, it was
Well,
a lack
that's a
of
good
judgment.
question. You want to know why? Because sometimes people in affairs of the heart behave irrationally. I tell you this for sure, Mr. Marriott, I wouldn't have loaned you the guitar. What kind of a guitar was it?
It was an Ibanez bass guitar.
And how much will it cost you to replace it?
$300.
You have any papers to prove that?
Yes, I do.
Let me see. Is this a picture of the guitar?
Yeah, but it was red.
It was not red.
Yes, it was.
Wasn't quite interested in the color, but that's what it looks like.
Yes.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. Goodbye, good luck, have a happy life. This one doesn't have any sentimental value, but at least you have it. Bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Harassing her.
Miss Pruitt, you and the defendant are neighbors. Yes. She recently moved to the neighborhood, is that right?
Correct.
You have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
1 at home.
And you?
8.
Are they all living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, it's a shame that you two people got off to a bad start, but according to what I've read, Miss Pruitt, you did just that, get off to a bad start. You don't like each other, that is clear. However, your complaint is you have cats. cat had kittens. Miss Birkins found herself in possession of 3 of your kittens because they strayed onto her property, I assume. They're allowed to roam free?
They were in the front yard. Yes, ma'am.
Whatever. They weren't in your house. They got to her house. She corralled them, called animal control, and said, I have these 3 stray cats. They came and picked them up, and now they're at animal control, and you don't have the money to get them out. And you claim that this is a form of harassment. She did it with another one of your cats that got onto her property. Ms. Birkin says one of your cats scratched her child, and you should have kept your cats in your house. If you didn't keep them in your house and they come onto her property, she has every right to corral them and call animal control. That's your defense. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said not only that, but she's been harassing you by sending nasty letters to neighbors and filing false police reports about you. You have a counterclaim. When did you move to the neighborhood, Miss Birkins?
In May 2005.
And I gather that your children played together, or some of your children played together, at least initially. Is that right?
When I first moved in, everything was great. We barbecued together. It would, you know.
So what happened?
Well, little things started happening with the kids, and like one day one of the kids said fart, and she came over and had a problem with that. I mean, she blew up and said she was not going to have that language in her house. Personally, I'm
I don't
sorry.
care what personally. Go ahead. Tell me just the facts.
Okay, anyway, and then I started getting different letters with different things being said in them.
From whom?
Miss Pruitt.
Well, let me see them.
Okay. Also, an apology letter that my son wrote her for something that he said in her home on Father's Day.
What is this long letter? What is this?
That's what she does. She sits and just writes me letters like that. Just 6 pages, 7 pages, 8 pages. I guess she thinks she's a novelist.
These are all ridiculous letters. What happened with this relationship that you believe caused her to steal your cats?
Okay. When they first moved in May of '05, everything was okay for a couple of weeks, and then red flags started showing. Yes, I did complain to Chris about the kids' language. We don't use the kind of language, no matter what it is. If
Okay,
it's
so you
vulgar.
complained about the language.
I complained about the language. Other things like the children not respecting our home. And then her 14-year-old told me that her and her husband had arrest warrants. That's why they left Maryland. And I was concerned about that because we were neighbors. And so I emailed the sheriff's department in the county they were from, and he emailed me back and confirmed that. Which
Do you
is
have a copy of the
emails.
email?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see it, please.
A couple weeks after that,
Just a
like
second.
Okay.
Just a second. Okay.
Okay, well, a couple weeks after that, I had called Crystal to retrieve a toy that belonged to my son. And as soon as I got out, I said, Chris, can you have one of the kids bring it back over next door? It started the cussing, the F and B. Hey, what are you doing calling me, you F and B? So I hung up the phone. I called the police
Had you been
department.
contacted by the Maryland authorities?
No, ma'am. It's all taken care of.
Well, she has emails from the authority in Maryland that indicate that both you and your husband failed to complete the community service portion of a probation.
Right.
And as a result of that, warrants were outstanding for your arrest. That according to the police in Maryland, they did not intend to extradite you for that, but they said, and these had to do with, according to the police, bad checks. With their gratuitous advice, don't lend them any money, or take any checks, and stay clear.
Right.
Now, my question to you is, were you notified by anyone in Maryland that they had located you?
No. She comes screaming at me on 4th of July, I'm going to have you locked up and take your kids from you. So my kids are outside playing in a sprinkler. One of them said the F word again, fart, and she's like, that's it, I've had it. She said, I'm calling your landlord, and I'm getting you out of here. And she started freaking out, so I went and told my husband, I said, she's losing it again. I said, let's just go. So we spent 4th of July weekend in a hotel. My kids didn't even get to pop fireworks. They were miserable. She tried to take my daughter from me when we first moved in. She told my daughter she was going to
Okay, so you went to a motel, Miss Birkins.
her name.
Listen to me. You went to a motel.
Yes.
That night. When, for the first time, did you learn that Miss Pruitt had contacted the Maryland authorities?
4th of July. We were out there trying to have a good time.
Oh, just a second. On the 4th of July, did she tell you that?
She screamed it across the yard.
When, for the first time, did you call animal control and her cats?
Right here, I have that date.
Give me the date.
Here's the picture.
Just tell me what the date
Okay,
is.
the first time is the 9th, August
What?
9th.
So after the 4th of July. Now tell me where you found the cat that day.
In the yard, right under the bush, outside the carport.
Outside your house?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do?
Well, I didn't, but my daughter did. She picked it up and she put it in the cage, and we called animal control. But that cat they retrieved. They went and got that cat.
Is this the same daughter that was scratched by the cat?
Yes, ma'am.
Which cat scratched your daughter?
The 3 that came on the property after.
Okay. Miss Pruitt, did animal control indicate to you that you should keep these cats in your house?
No, ma'am, they did not indicate that.
Well, they should have.
May I say one thing?
Sure.
Crystal had said that I
don't care about a daughter.
Okay, well...
I couldn't have cared less about that whole tirade. Miss Pruitt, let me tell you what my problem is with your complaint. I read that she called animal control on one cat that had strayed onto her property. That would have said to any intelligent person, if I don't want my cats taken by animal control, I better keep them in the house.
I keep them in the house.
Well, you didn't. She didn't come in your house and get them.
The kitten stayed in the house. The day that they got this one, I don't know why Calico was outside. The second time they got the kittens, we were outside all day long. Within 30 minutes after we went in the house, whenever he went to look for them, the cats were gone.
Miss Pruitt, Miss Perkins did not come into your house and steal your cats.
No, she didn't.
Where did you find the cats the second time, Miss Perkins?
Same place. They go under that bush right outside the carport. They all get up under there. And I have a copy of the bite case, Your Honor, if you would like to see it.
I would.
Can I say something?
Sure. Who are you?
I'm Chris's husband, Gerald.
I figured you were, because you got very exercised when we started talking about these warrants. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that Miss Pruitt, she bribed my 14-year-old son as far as finding out information about us. She bribed him with a $60 PlayStation game at night.
Mr. Perkins, listen to me very carefully, sir. Your son should not know that his parents have outstanding arrest warrants for them. You know why he shouldn't know that his parents have outstanding arrest warrants? Because his parents shouldn't have outstanding arrest warrants. You don't blame son, you don't blame Miss Pruitt. If you have an outstanding arrest warrant, and if your wife has an outstanding arrest warrant, you go back to the state of Maryland and you take care of it. Isn't that right?
Yes, I agree.
Good. And it seemed to me, I would want to know as your neighbor if you're in the habit of writing bad checks. I don't know why your son felt compelled to tell that to Miss Pruitt.
He was mad at me because I wouldn't buy the game for him. I told him he had to earn the money.
Exactly.
And she went and bought it for him.
And she said, I'll buy it for you, Brett, but I want to know why your parents are here. And we didn't run.
Listen to me very carefully. You left Maryland without completing your community service.
25 hours.
I don't care whether it was a half hour. If you wrote bad checks, you were given an opportunity, I assume, to stay out of jail. And the condition of that was that you perform community service. So not only did you commit a crime, but you committed a crime, and then you said to the justice system, I'm just moving. I'm leaving. Before you completed what you promised to complete. Because when the judge sentenced you, the judge said, this is what I'm going to do. Do you promise to complete community service? And you say, I'll do whatever is necessary to stay out of jail. If you had said, we're not going to do community service, they would have put you in jail for 60 days, or for 90 days, or for 6 months, and then you wouldn't have to do community service. You're supposed to do the right thing and teach your children to do the right thing. Why are you looking at me with some look of incredulity? Am I saying something that doesn't sound right to you?
No, ma'am.
Good.
May I say something, Your Honor?
No.
Okay.
No, because I just don't understand you. If they took one of your cats and they called animal control, so you know that they were angry with you, and they were angry with you in all probability because you had stirred up this muck about the Maryland warrants, then it would seem to me if you value your kittens, you keep them in the house. They did not come to your house to steal your cats, Miss Pruitt.
I offered the cats back. Shh.
You did not offer the cats.
Yeah.
Whether they did or whether they didn't, my issue is whether or not you have a lawsuit. And you don't. They have a right, if these animals are on their property, especially since they say that one of the kittens scratched their daughter, whether they did or whether they didn't, and whether they were being vindictive or not. They might have been. They might have said, listen, she stirred up all this muck about us. We're going to call animal control if her cats come on our property again. It's your responsibility as a pet owner not to put your animals in harm's way. And if you have cats and you choose to let them be outside cats, somebody, them, other neighbors, some stranger 2 blocks away is going to take your cat and is going to say, I don't want this cat coming in my house. I don't want this cat coming around underneath and spraying and making mess around my house. If people want to have animals, they have to take care of them. And if you didn't take care of them to the extent that these people managed to get their hands on them, you have no lawsuit.
I know what you're saying, but I also know these people, and they did do it in a vindictive way. And
They may have. But we
on
don't
a
have a special
Saturday
court.
for the
We
kids
don't
to-
have a
I know.
special court for that. We don't have a special court for motives. I can say that it really wasn't the right thing to do. You could have just shooed them away and kept shooing them away. That's not what they pay me for.
Right.
They pay me to make a judgment as to whether or not you have a lawsuit, and you don't. Neither do you. You don't like each other. It's unfortunate that you don't like each other. Do you still live there?
Absolutely, and I'm not moving.
Good. Mr. and Mrs. Perkins, if I were you, I would go back to the state of Maryland and say, I'm sorry we left. I'd like to get this warrant discharged. I would like to complete my community service. I'm going to do that when my husband next has a 2-week vacation so that I can travel to all 50 states without risk of being arrested. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Miss Michaels, what kind of work do you do?
I have a Polynesian entertainment company.
And your company provides Polynesian entertainment for whom?
For clients, shows.
What kind of show did you hire people for that is involved in this case?
A car show.
Had you dealt with Miss DeGuire before?
No, I haven't.
How did you find her?
I went on the internet. I was in a position where I needed one more act, and it was like the night before
So
the
you
show.
needed another act for the car show. You
Right.
found her ad on the internet.
Actually, no. I found someone else's ad, and they said, we don't do any last-minute gigs like this, and here's her number.
Fine. This is what the situation is. You contacted her, and she was to provide you with 2 or 3 young women who were going to dance at this car show. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And the agreed-upon fee was $300.
That's correct.
So far? That's
Yes.
correct. Hold up.
3 girls.
Okay. These are 2 of the 3 girls?
Yes, it is.
And they performed?
Yes, they did.
Miss Michaels, according to your complaint, gave the girls $200.
Yes, she gave them 200.
Check for $200. And then she put a stop payment on that check.
Yes, she did.
Now, Miss Michaels, you're going to tell me why you put a stop payment on that check.
Okay. There was a lot of broken agreements. They were supposed to meet me at 4:30. They showed up 3.5 hours late. 5 minutes before the show time.
Yes.
They said they're going to let me choose between 2 to 3 costumes. And I didn't have that opportunity. They're still cutting
So why don't you send them home when they got there 5 minutes before the event?
Because I wanted to fulfill my commitment.
So if you wanted to fulfill your commitment, then you let them perform, right? That's why you didn't send them home. What I'm asking you is why you stopped payment on the check. And I haven't heard anything yet.
Because when I saw the videotape afterwards of what was promised for a professional show, because I have act number 1, which is my group, which is a professional act, and what was promised for a professional show and matching costumes and all of that, I'm backstage with my girls. They're going on.
So what you're telling me is you weren't satisfied with the performance?
Not at all.
Good. Listen to me very carefully, madam. I want you to think about you taking several of your clients into a restaurant, and you have a reservation for 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock comes and goes, and they don't seat you. They say, we're not going to be able to seat you until 9 o'clock. Look at me. So you decide to wait. You don't say to your friends, we're going to go to a different restaurant. You decide to wait. And you wait till 9 o'clock, and then you sat down to eat. And you eat, and you really don't like the food. You finish whatever you finish, you have dessert, you have coffee, bill comes, you pay it. And then you call your credit card company and say, I want to stop payment on this check because I didn't like my dinner. You think that's reasonable? If you waited until the last minute to book another act and you needed another act, I'm speaking.
Okay.
And these people show up and they hadn't fulfilled, according to you, their agreement, then you say to them, ladies, go home.
Yes.
I'm not going to potentially embarrass myself by putting on an unknown. What you can't do, Miss Michaels, is put the act on and then say, I didn't like them, and I'm not going to pay you.
I never said that I wasn't going to pay them.
Of course you did. You stopped payment on the check.
I stopped payment. We spoke, and I said, whatever out-of-pocket expense that you had to pay the girls, I will give that to you, and that wasn't satisfactory to her.
It's not satisfactory. You had an agreed price. The agreed price was $300. Your choice was, when they were late, to send them home. Because it wasn't just that they were late. If they were late and wonderful, you wouldn't have had a problem. But you didn't know these people. You didn't know whether they could dance. You didn't know whether they could sing. You didn't know whether they had nice costumes. Yeah, you didn't know anything about
Yes,
them.
I made a poor judgment.
You did.
Yes.
And that's what business is all about. You make a
Exactly.
poor judgment and you learn from your mistakes. You try to book an act at the last minute and you get people. Where are you from?
Moreno Valley?
You're not from Hawaii, are you?
No.
You're not from French Polynesia, are you? And where are you from?
Corona.
Corona. That's not in Polynesia, is it?
No.
She's Hawaiian.
Shh. I don't care whether she's Hawaiian or Yiddish. She's not French Polynesian. You had a contract. If she is not fulfilling the contract by arriving at an appropriate time and giving you an opportunity to screen the talent, send them home. You can't use them and then decide you didn't like the meal. Do I make myself clear?
They took
Judgment for the
payment
plaintiff in the
$200.
amount of $300. That's all.
She may step out.
The money.
Mr. Alford, the defendant used to be your girlfriend. According to your complaint, you are no longer involved in a relationship, but at some point prior to your breaking up, you loaned her $300. You want that money back.
Yes. This was after we broke up. Like, we broke up, then she called me.
So you lent her the money after you were no longer together.
Yes.
When did you lend her the money, sir?
I sent it the 1st of July.
Tell me about that.
All right, we broke up with her when she came up.
She came up where? You
To
have
Philly. We was no longer seeing each other.
You live in Philadelphia.
Yes.
You live where?
Florida.
And when did she come to Philadelphia?
Like the beginning of June.
Who did she stay with?
Her mom, I guess.
Your mom lives in Philadelphia?
Outside of Philadelphia.
Stop moving up and down. When she came up to Philadelphia to visit her mother, and you, I assume.
I saw her a couple hours.
That's not
Were you
true,
still
Your Honor.
dating?
Then, yeah.
What caused you to stop seeing each other in a romantic way?
Chris Alford says ex-girlfriend Ashley Griffin owes for a loan to pay her rent. Chris also says Ashley is a two-timer.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, she missed her flight, right? In the morning time, she missed her flight.
She missed her flight going back to Florida?
Yes.
When was that?
I don't know the exact date.
It was sometime in July.
He said you went up in June.
No, it was like the middle of July sometime.
Did you miss your flight going home?
Yes, ma'am.
When you were in Philadelphia?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What happened when she missed her flight, sir?
She missed her flight, and she called some guy and was like, I missed my flight. It cost $50 or something to pay the balance or something. And I was like, who's that on the phone? And I turned around, whatever, because I was half asleep when all this happened. She hit me, whatever, like, I missed my flight. Da-da-da-da.
So what you're saying is she was sleeping over at your house?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, then you were with her more than just a couple of hours during this visit to Philadelphia.
Okay.
All right, so you decided you didn't want to see her anymore because she was talking to somebody else and borrowed $50 from somebody else. Is that what you're trying to tell me, Mr. Alford? Could we get to it, please?
All right.
Is that what happened?
Other stuff too, but that's what started it all.
And then this other young man sent you money or called up and said add the ticket on his credit card and you went home.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me why you needed this $300, Miss Griffin.
Can I start from the beginning?
No.
Well, because I was going back home in July. So I had already bought my ticket and I was short for my rent. So I asked him for the money. I didn't say, can I borrow it? I asked him, can I have it? And he said, yeah. And he gave me the money.
So you needed the $300 for rent because you had spent the money.
But I was off. And we spent more than just that night together. He picked me up from the airport, and I was with him that day, and we went to go pick up his witness.
Tell me about when you called him and asked him for the money.
Well, I called him, and I pretty much said I needed the money for the rent because I was short.
Where were you when he gave you the money?
I was at my house.
In Florida?
Yes, ma'am. He Western Unioned me the money.
You have the receipt for Western Union?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? Mr. Alford, I'd like you to tell me about the conversation that you had with her about the $300, please.
All right, I'm in the car, me and 3 friends of mine, and my phone rings. And I put it on speaker because I couldn't drive and talk. So I'm talking to her, and she's like, oh my God, I don't have enough money to pay for my rent, this, and that. And I'm like, at first I'm like, oh, like, what am I supposed to do about that? Then she said, would it be possible if you could send me $300 and I will pay you back next Friday on my paycheck? Everybody in the car heard her say that.
Don't tell me what they heard. Did you hear it?
I heard it clearly. It's right here. The phone's right here. I was listening, talking like, all right, well, I can't spare it. You know what I mean? So you got to send it back next Friday. And you can see on Western Union, date was July 1st. If she just now said she was in Philly.
You're absolutely right, sir. It was July 1st.
I said he sent me the money July 1st. I said I went home after July 1st.
Are you telling me you went home and then continued your relationship with him after he sent you the money?
Yes, we were still together, so I don't know why he's saying we weren't. We were together at that time. Why would I stay at his house? Why would he pick me up from the airport if we weren't together?
He says it was in June.
It was in June. That's why you was at my house. It was in June, man. It was
Well,
the
you
beginning
must
of
have your
June.
airline ticket.
I don't have it.
Who was this other person that you called for $50?
All right, when he came down, he knew about the guy already.
Don't tell me what he knew. I didn't ask you for a whole story. I said, who was this other person?
It was some other guy that I was messing with.
So now what you want me to believe is he sent you $300 to help you cover your rent. Then you went up to Philadelphia to see him. But at the time that he sent you the $300 for the rent, you were messing around with somebody else that he didn't know about. Is that right?
No, he knew about him. We were only like...
friends.
No, we weren't friends. We were more than friends. But at that time, I knew I could depend on him.
You have to learn that you have to stand on your own 2 feet. You have to stop relying on people, and you have to stop using people. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Loan to take a vacation.
Mr. Gray, Miss Slayton is your former girlfriend.
Right.
And this is what your complaint alleges. It alleges that several months ago, you loaned her $1,000 to put as a down payment on a car. She was supposed to make the payments on the car. You were the co-signer on the car loan. She didn't make the payments, and you repossessed the car. According to what I read, you said you sold the car. Did you sell the car, or did you give the car to your mother?
My mother took over the car payments.
And how much after the car was purchased did your mother take over the car payments? How many months?
About 2.
Oh. And then you allege that the defendant went on a vacation. She was your girlfriend. She notified you on the vacation that she was short of some money and asked you if you could put some cash in a joint checking account that you had.
Right.
And you put $300 in the joint checking account because that's what you do.
Right.
And when she came back from vacation, she broke up with you. That's what you say, right?
Yes, we broke up after I got back.
No, your answer says that after you came back from vacation, you broke up with him, right?
Yeah.
So let's take care of the car first. Forget about the car. You gave the car to your mother. She used the car maybe 2 months. Car's your problem. Got it?
No, actually, she...
No, now you believe, trust me. I want you to trust me. I want you to trust me. That's it. Because if you had sold the car to a stranger at an arm's length transaction, and if there was a shortfall on what you were owed, I might listen to you. The fact that your mother took over the payments, that's not what we call an arm's length transaction. Say nothing. You're driving the car?
Yes.
That's it. The car is yours. You just bought a car for your mother. And if she's going to make the payments, that's $300. Now, when did you go on this vacation?
I went July 15th through the 18th, I believe.
And where did you go?
I went to Newport Beach to visit my sister as a graduation present.
And when did you call him for the $300?
Probably that Saturday I was there.
Well, you went there on the 15th, 15th, 16th, 17th, and you came back on the 18th.
Yeah, the second day I was there, I called him.
And when did you break up with him?
The night I came back, we actually ended up breaking up.
You broke up with him?
Yeah.
Tell me why.
We broke up because this was now a new chapter in my life. I just graduated from high school. I was starting college soon, and I wanted to focus on what I needed to do.
When did you come to this revelation? On the 15th, 16th, 17th, or 18th? Don't speak to her. When did you come to this revelation?
I had been thinking about it prior to leaving, and when
And why did you call him and ask him for money?
Well, because we had a joint account, and whenever he needed money, I would give him the money.
Well, that's because there was goodwill between you. You think that if you had called him up on the 16th and said to him, what's your first name?
Tyler.
Tyler. Tyler, when I get back, I'm going to break up with you, but right now I'm visiting with my sister and I need $300. You think he would have put $300? Listen to me. You see how you just laughed? You see you just laughed? I just want you to think about that. If you had called him up on the 16th and said, Tyler, I've been thinking about our relationship. I want to move on. I need a new chapter in my life, but I'm down here with my sister. We're having a good time. I need $300. I'm short. Could you put $300 in our account? You think he would have done it?
Probably not.
Right. So you owe $300 because you weren't being honest with him. And the fact that you had a joint account where you each put money during the course of your relationship when you had a trusting, mutual relationship with him, that's one thing. But that was pretty sneaky to break up with him the day you... Don't poke her! was pretty sneaky, calling him and breaking up with him 2 days later. How do you think he felt? He felt like an idiot. Felt like an idiot. This wasn't some revelation. Been thinking about it for a while.
Well, this account was actually my account, and he couldn't get an account of his own, so I put him on as my account so that he could deposit his paychecks into there.
Yeah.
But towards the end of our relationship, he didn't have a job, and he was spending my money.
So this was a way of getting
It
money
wasn't
back?
getting back at him or anything like that.
Sure it was. Sure it was. You figure you would cut your losses. What you did was not right. So far on his claim, he gets Zippo for the car, $300 that you had him put in while you were on vacation getting ready to dump him. Now, getting back to your counterclaim. Say nothing. I'm not interested. Do you understand? Let's get to your counterclaim. You say he overdrew your checking account by $700.
Yeah.
When did he do that?
While I was in Newport.
Show me. Did you overdraw her checking account, sir?
No.
All of the ones highlighted are the transaction his card made.
I don't even think we had 700.
No, highlighted. You have something here on 720 and 721. That's not when you were in Newport. Did you take money out of this account, sir?
I didn't take $700 out of the account.
No,
we didn't
100
have $700 in our account.
No. There was 100 taken out on 719 and again on 719. You took out $300. So right after she broke up with you, you withdrew $300 from the account. Is that right?
No.
Take a look at 719. $719, your account.
719, withdraw $100. Okay?
And then there's another 719.
200. You're correct.
I'm always correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me. This was your joint money. Up until the point when you're no longer a couple. And I can understand you going in and saying, I'm not going to let her make a fool out of me and take my $300 when she knew she was going to break $300. No. Your mother's driving around in the other $1,000.
She purchased the car with the full amount that we bought it. She never made a car payment on the car.
Listen to me. Arm's length transaction. I tried to explain that to you. If you don't understand it, go to a lawyer. They'll explain it to you better. I don't have the time to educate you. If you sold the car to a stranger, I would hear you. You gave the car to your mother. I don't want to hear it. You took your $300 back after she broke up with you, so you get no $300. Don't put anybody else on your checking account, madam. He put in $300. He took out his $300. So you don't owe him any money, and he doesn't owe you any money. Go, have a happy life. Goodbye, good luck. Have a nice day.
Parties are excused when they step out.
Piece of business.
Miss O'Miller, it is your claim that the defendants are in possession of a ring that is yours.
That's right, Your Honor.
And it is a ring that left your possession at some point. You don't know how, you don't know when, but you saw Miss Shadez?
Shadez, yeah.
Shadez wearing the ring in a store. She was employed in the store. You looked at the ring, and since you say it was a unique ring made for you, you were sure that it was yours. You told her it was yours. You went and got the police. They came back. She said her boyfriend or fiancé had given her the ring several years before. This is the fiancé, Mr. Tapia, who says that he purchased the ring, that he paid $1,000 for it, and you want your ring back or money.
I want the ring.
When did you have the ring made?
In 1991.
By whom?
By Creations in Gold up in Seattle, Washington, and this is the jeweler and her husband that made my ring.
Well, who made the ring? This lady or her husband?
Her husband, and he's since deceased.
All right. Did you work with him?
Yes, we had a store together.
Were you the designer or was he the designer?
I was the designer mostly. He did the fabrication.
Stand up. Did you personally do it or did your husband do it?
We both did.
And you remember this particular ring 15 years later?
Yes, I do.
Where did you get the model from for the ring?
It was our design. My husband made
Can I see the ring, please?
Ring for me first.
What do you mean he made it for you first?
A ring like it.
Just a second. He made a ring for you like this first?
Yes.
And then he made another one for Miss O'Miller?
Yes.
Was she a friend of yours?
We met in a restaurant and she approached me and said, may I look at your ring? And I said, yes. And then she asked, I said, my husband and I have the store. And then she came to the store.
Where's the one that your husband made for you?
Right here.
Let me see it.
Yes.
Do you want another one that he made? These were made together at the same time.
I just want to see the one that he made for her.
Okay.
Well, these are practically identical.
Yes.
Except the gold is different. Yours is heavier. One that she says is hers is lighter. Practically identical. And your husband, did he surprise you with this? Is my question. Did your husband surprise you with this ring?
Yes, he did.
So that you are not telling me the truth. What's your last name?
Grenzner.
You are not telling me the truth when you say that you designed it with him. Because these rings are practically identical. And if what you're telling me is that your husband surprised you...
Surprised me?
Listen to me. Surprised you with your ring, that means that you didn't design it. That means he designed it.
We designed it, but he surprised me, and I got the ring for Christmas. Yes, he surprised me with the ring, but not with the design. That is the truth.
Madam, that's a lot of double talk.
No.
If your husband surprised you with the ring, that means that he designed it and gave it to you as a surprise. A husband doesn't say, I want to surprise you with a ring. Let's sit down and you design it, and then it's going to be a surprise. Husband says, I'm going to surprise my wife for Christmas and give her a ring, which he designed. And then when she came in and wanted a ring similar to yours, two of you may have gotten together and say, well, we can make a ring very similar to mine. It's not exactly the same because this is more weight. This is less weight than yours. You understand that. But you did not design it. Sit down.
Can I show you one that he designed to go with that ring?
No, it's not necessary.
Okay.
Not necessary. There's nothing unique about this ring. You've been around jewelry as long as I've been around jewelry. This is, may not be exactly the same, but it's not unique. Now, when was the last time, Miss O'Miller, when was it that you actually saw your ring that either is this ring or is similar to this ring?
Approximately about 3 years ago.
Where did you see it 3 years ago?
In my home.
When did you first miss your ring?
Probably about a week after I'd moved.
Which was when?
3 years ago.
Do you have a police report?
I never made a police report because I didn't know at the time it was lost or stolen. I just thought I'd misplaced it, so I didn't call.
Well, maybe you lost it. Is that possible?
Possible.
Did you have a moving company move you?
It was a small moving company that had moved.
So the answer is that you had a moving company move you.
Right.
So 3 years ago, you did not make a report of any stolen property.
Correct.
So you did nothing.
Nope.
Now, where did you buy this ring, Mr. Tapia?
In Indio, California.
Where?
At a pawn shop.
Had you ever been to that pawn shop before?
No, it was my first time there.
Do you remember who you dealt with there?
No, I just remember taking my grandmother with me, and it was $1,000, so I asked her to loan me $500 of it.
You gave him $500?
Yes, I loaned him $500.
Did he ever pay you back?
Yes, he paid me $100 a month for 5 months.
Okay. So?
So I believe that's my ring. I could tell by the flat back. That was one of his trademarks. It's like the one I have now.
Miss O'Miller, this is a legal issue. If I believe Mr. Tapia that he purchased this ring at a store for $1,000, he becomes what we call in the law a purchaser in due course for value, which means this ring is probably worth no more than $1,000. It has very tiny stones. It doesn't have the, I don't know how much you paid for it.
$3,000.
Well, you overpaid. You can give this back to her. Let us say you lost the ring. Let us say somebody else found the ring and brought it to the pawn shop. In commerce, there's a rationale behind this rule. In commerce, unless you're dealing with a car or a boat or a house, which has to be in writing, if you purchase something and if you purchase it for value, you get the title to it. Now, if Mr. Tapia bought this ring on the street for $50, then he is not a purchaser in due course for value. Then he is on notice that this may be a stolen ring, because nobody sells a ring that's worth $1,000 for $50 unless it's stolen goods. But I believe him, and I believe his grandmother, that they paid $1,000 for this ring. That doesn't mean you get it back.
First of all, his name was not Topia when I was going through all this. His name was Estrada. Then I got a phone call from a man claiming to be a lawyer representing Mr. Estrada. The man that subpoenaed these people with their warrants talked to the lawyer that he's...
Just what kind of warrants? What are you talking about, warrants?
Well, you know, when you go and form... How do I say it?
You went to her place of business where she works as a salesperson. You saw the ring. You said, let me see the ring. She showed you the ring. You said, where did you get it? She said, my boyfriend gave it to me. It's an engagement ring. You said, I have a ring like that. I think it's mine. She said, no, it's mine. You left. You went to the police. You brought the police back to her place of employment because that's her counterclaim, that you embarrassed her. Okay, so now we're at a point where you brought the police back to her place of employment and you said, that's my ring, and it must have been stolen. Is that what you said?
No.
What did you say?
I went home, called the police, and said I saw my ring on her finger at Mathis Brothers.
Okay.
The police lady said, he'll meet you in 15 minutes over at Mathis Brothers.
So then you went to Mathis Brothers, and she was there, and she said, it's my ring.
Can I say something? The officer did say it was stolen, that she said it was stolen. But in front of me, she said it was lost.
So far, I haven't heard any libel, slander, or defamation. She didn't accuse you of stealing it.
Well, when she brought the cops...
You were embarrassed.
I was embarrassed.
You were embarrassed, but that, you know, that's unfortunate. But she's entitled to do that. She said, it's my property. I want it back. Okay, so...
Then I talked to him, and he said, well, for $1,000. He said, it's probably your ring, and for $1,000 you could have it back. And I said, why should I buy something back that's mine, that I feel is mine?
Is that what you said to her?
No, I said that I bought the ring for $1,000, and if she wanted it, she'd have to pay me $1,000, which what I paid.
Is that what he said to you? Well, that's different from what you just told me, Miss O'Miller.
What did I just say that's so different?
You can have it back for $1,000. That's different from saying I paid $1,000 for it, and if you say it's yours, I'm willing to give it back to you, but you have to pay me what I paid for it. That's different. One has a positive connotation and one has a negative connotation.
I can see how you said it just then, yes, I can.
No, see how you said it.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
I'd like to know why all of a sudden his name became Mr. Topeka.
I don't know. I have a very long name myself. Judith, Blum, Levy, Sheindlin. My name is very, very long. That has nothing to do with the fact that you lost your ring 3 years ago, and you can't have it back. This may be your ring. It may not be your ring. Why in the world would I ascribe to these people any kind of criminal behavior 3 years away? Now, if you told me that he was one of the people who moved your property from one place to another, I would say, aha, a light would go off in my head. Did you work for the moving company that moved her?
Never have in my life.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Well, you can't go around, you know, accusing people of having property, stolen property, and believing that it's stolen. Return this, please. Miss Shades?
Shades, yes.
Yes, it's yours. Miss O'Miller, sad that you lost your ring. I would have felt much better about it if you had reported it to the police stolen. You did nothing. And who knows what happened to it in 3 years? It may have fallen in a truck, and 2 months later, somebody found it in the truck and said, I don't even know where this came from. Said, I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to sell it to a pawn shop and see what they give me for it. He sees it. He goes with his grandmother. He says, I only have $500. Can you lend me the other 500? I believe his grandmother when she said that he paid her back. You don't get your ring back, Miss O'Miller. She also doesn't have to pay you for embarrassing you in the store. She didn't accuse you of stealing it.
Well, when the officer came, he said that, you know, it was stolen. And, I mean, I felt embarrassed when he comes into my job and, you know,
you don't
she made me lose time off of work. And she also had my address with, I don't know how she got my new address. I just moved into a new house. I feel like she's stalking me.
She's not stalking you anymore.
She has.
She's not stalking you anymore. She is entitled to sue you. Listen to me carefully. She's entitled to sue you. She had a good faith basis to believe that this was her property. And quite frankly, unless you could establish to my satisfaction, which you have, that you were a holder in due course for value, which means you paid value for this ring, I might have returned it to her if I believed it was hers to begin with. But I believe that you purchased it, and I believe you purchased it in good faith with your grandmother. I believe you paid value for it, and therefore the title is clear, is in your name. Do we all understand that? Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And to her, she is countersuing for the resulting damage.
I have a complaint and I have a counterclaim. Each of you claim road rage by the other. And Miss Lacey, you claim that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes.
The defendant denies that. So I'm used to, quite frankly, hearing about these road rage incidents with guys behind the wheel of a car. Very rarely do I see mature women who get involved with that kind of stupidity. It's very distressing. When did this happen?
March 12th of '07.
What time of the day?
3:30 p.m.
Where were you coming from or going to?
I was going to a doctor's appointment southbound on Highway 99.
Anybody in the car with you?
No.
And where were you going or coming?
I was picking up my son, going southbound on 99.
Okay, tell me what happened.
I was in the, there's a carpool lane, and then there's 3 regular lanes. Mr. Sean was a carpool because she had her daughter with her, but she was in the regular lane, and traffic was all backed up. So I was trying to get to my doctor's appointment. I rushed around her in the carpool lane and came back over real quick.
So you cut her off?
Well...
Just a second. So you cut her off?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what
Okay.
you did. Just a second. Just a second. That's exactly what you did. You cut her off.
Okay.
Now, because there is no rule that if you have more than one person in the car, you have to drive in a carpool lane. The carpool lane merely allows you to be in that lane if you're more than one person.
Correct.
But there's no requirement that you go in a carpool lane if you're 2 people.
Correct.
I question you about that, Miss Lacey, because you hear that you were annoyed with her because she should have been in the carpool lane and not taking up space in the other 3 lanes where there was traffic. That's what you seem to indicate here.
Correct.
Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. There are tens of thousands of cars on the road. You're complaining about this lady because she didn't want to go in a fast lane with her daughter? That's ridiculous. And then you did the wrong thing. You cut her off. Now, I haven't gotten to you yet, but we will. Because I have a feeling that both of you ladies acted very badly that day. So after you cut her off, what happened?
I proceeded down southbound 99. I took the Florin Road exit and headed eastbound. There's 2 lanes on eastbound Florin. I was in the left lane, and I noticed a couple of minutes after I exited Florin Road, I noticed in my rearview mirror Miss Rashawn in the right lane, and she comes up. She's next to my car yelling at me and calling me a few names.
She's yelling at you. What is she calling you? She's calling you bad names?
She's calling me bad names.
And what did you say to her?
I didn't say anything. I was like, you know, I was trying to get to my doctor's appointment. That's all I was trying to do. And she started calling me the B word and yelling at me for cutting her off, et cetera, et cetera. And next thing I knew, her car is over in my lane, hits my car. I'm looking, and in my lane is a tan SUV, and my first thought was, this lady is going to make me hit this SUV in front of me. So I slammed on my brakes. She had so much force on my car that she ended up over in the left lane, and I took a right onto Palmer House, right here. And I came down here. Because I wasn't sure, like I said, she was extremely upset, so I was scared to stop or anything. I got on the phone, was trying to get through to 911. She kept following me, and then I lost her, and I came back, and she was parked. So I was trying to take a picture of her license plate. So when I got through to 911, I would have the license plate number. As I was focusing in on the license plate, I had my windows down. She gets out of her car, comes up to my vehicle, to the passenger side, starts screaming and yelling at me on how I hit her car, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, no, I didn't. Next thing I knew, she reaches in through the passenger side window, grabs my purse out of my car, and I was in shock. I was like, wait a minute, that's stealing, that's my purse. So I get out of my car, I go around the back of my car, and she dumps my purse and throws everything on the ground. And I go to pick it up, and she rushes me, scratches me and everything. She is just going at me. And I was in shock, and I believe, excuse my language, but I think I said, what the F, that's assault? And she goes, no, your boyfriend beats you up. I'm like, oh, is that the way we play the game? And then she continues with these 2 gentlemen came out, pulled her off of me. I asked them if they would stick around and talk to the police. They said no. I went to pick up my belongings off of the ground, and when I went to stand back up, she pushes me. I didn't have a chance to brace myself or anything. I fell back, and my head hit the street, twisted my ankle, bruise on my right arm, everything's on the right side. Again, I get back up and start trying to retrieve my stuff again, and that's when the officer pulled up.
Okay, your version.
That was totally a lie.
Your version.
My version is we were southbound on 99 on our way to pick up my son. We were in the carpool lane. She's tailgating me. My daughter noticed that.
Don't tell me what anybody else knows.
Okay, she
what
wanted.
happened from your perspective?
Okay, she went around on the shoulder to get around me. I wasn't in the number 2 lane. I was in the number 1 lane. She went around on the shoulder, started driving wildly. She was weaving in and out of traffic, got back in the carpool lane. I exited off the freeway. My daughter noticed when we were over the overpass. She said, the same car is getting off the freeway. Is that hers? I said, I don't know. So we were driving east on Florin, and then all of a sudden, I saw a car driving up fast behind me. So I moved over to the right lane, and lo and behold, bam, she crashes right into me.
Where was the damage to your car?
Got pictures right here.
See it.
And you can
You have
tell.
pictures of the damage to your car?
Yes.
And she hit me.
Why don't I have any pictures of the front of either of these cars?
Because I didn't hit her. She hit me. She's claiming.
I said, why don't I have any pictures of the front of either of these cars?
Because there was no damage in the front of my car.
But if I had a picture of that, it would have been helpful.
Okay.
Because she sideswiped me. She didn't.
I did not sideswipe you.
No. This car looks to me as if this car, this is where the impact was in the
That's
front.
her tire marks.
That's where she
Her
crashed
tire
into
was-
me.
Well-
And then you can see on my picture
Her-
where
the
she
dam-
stayed on my...
The damage to her car is mostly on the side.
Right.
Damage to your car, mostly over here. Okay, so she hits your car, and?
She tried to veer me to the right into a ditch. Why I had a picture of the ditch there. And then I managed to get ahead of her, so I passed the light, but she went to the right on Palmer House and tried to run from me. So I was like, she's not going to run from me. So I ended up backing up in the street and following her down the street. And she made a U-turn in someone's driveway. I came around behind her. She backed up and just crashed right into the back of my car. You could see the dent by the gas tank there. And then she managed to drive back down the street, went into a church parking lot. She did a donut in there, and I got a picture of the marks on the ground there, if you look at the picture. And she was heading straight for me like she wanted to play chicken. So I was like, this lady has no regard for me and my daughter. And first of all, why would I even hit her with my daughter in the car?
You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at the police reports, please.
And I'm a commercial truck driver, so why would I want to ruin my driving record? That's my livelihood. I am a Class A truck driver, so I have no reason to be crashing into anybody.
You told the police that after you took the pocketbook out of her car, which you acknowledged that you did, which was the wrong thing to do, you understand, that she slapped you.
Yes.
Where did she slap you?
Right here on the right side of my cheek.
And that's when you hit her?
Yes.
You have photographs of your injuries?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them, please. You hurt her pretty badly, madam. You hurt her pretty badly. That's
Well,
unreasonable.
She hit me.
I'm not sure about that. No, you say she slapped you. I believe that, but you assaulted her.
She hit me first.
No, I don't believe that. Not only don't I believe it, but even if she slapped you in the face after you took her purse, she's allowed to do that.
Well, I didn't steal her purse.
Yes, you did.
I grabbed it, yes.
Yes, you did. You stole her purse. The purpose of your removing it was not to steal its contents, was to make sure that you had identifying information about her because she was leaving. You could have had the same identifying information by just taking down her license plate number. You chose not to do that. You committed a felony. You reached into her car and took her purse. You lost your temper. That's a felony.
Well, anybody would under the circumstances.
No, my dear.
Well, not stealing the
no,
purse,
I
but
wouldn't
I
have
was
done it.
hot.
I would have stayed in my car until a police officer came. I would have locked my doors, rolled up my windows,
I called
and said,
911.
You may have called 911, but you stay in your car, especially when you have your daughter with you. You don't know what kind of nut this is. All you did was say to me, this person was driving erratically. That's what you said to me. She cut me off. She rammed my car. And instead of sitting in your car and protecting your daughter, you got out of the car and stole her pocketbook.
Actually, I got out of the car to estimate my damages, and she drove up alongside of me, started yelling at me.
So what? So, further proof.
But I was away from her.
You weren't away from her. You walked up to her car and reached into her bag. You can't do that. You understand that? Yeah, good. I'm glad you understand it. And you should be more responsible if you have your child with you. Now, go ahead.
I also asked her if she was on medication, and she said she was.
It's very possible. And if she told you she was on medication, I mean, I know that you didn't ask it in a calm way, because if somebody rams your car, as she rammed your car, you're not calm. So you probably said, "What are you on?"
No, I asked her, "Are you on any medication?"
And she said,
"Yes, I am."
Was that before or after you assaulted her?
That was before.
You got me? In any event, you have medical bills?
I actually don't have medical bills, except for like my prescriptions, to like $60 for prescriptions.
Okay.
I also have a report from, because there's more injuries than the pictures, because when I fell, my head hit the
I'd
ground.
like to see it.
So there's
I didn't cause her to hit her head. She did that on her own.
Medical report.
And my daughter can witness to that.
I'm not going to call your daughter as a witness.
Okay.
I think you put her through quite enough.
Marlene Lacey is accusing fellow motorist Sarah Roshan of ramming her car during an incident of road rage.
What?
It says in the police report that there's no visual marks on her face. She said,
No, I read that there were no visual marks. She was not injured. No, I understand that.
Okay.
I do believe, however, that you damaged her car.
Okay.
I think that you lost it, and I think that you behaved very badly that day, Miss Lacey.
Okay.
Very badly. I think that you were in a rush to get to a doctor's appointment, and you were driving erratically on the road in order to do that. You placed a lot of people's lives in jeopardy, because that's what... You practically acknowledged that in your statement, but she's not allowed to lose her temper and assault you. Now, you were banged up.
Yes.
You were banged up. I'm awarding you $3,500 in fees for your pain and suffering,
Okay.
medical bills, whatever they were.
Okay.
I'm awarding her $3,500 on her counterclaim to fix her car for the damage that you caused.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That means each of you gets nothing. That's all.
Yes, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Used to have a romantic relationship, and according to your complaint, something happened a year ago that caused all kinds of problems. There was a freeway altercation between the two of you. You claim he assaulted you, then he was arrested. Then you decided that you would help him out by bailing him out. You obligated yourself to a bail bondsman. You claim he owes you money for that. You claim he owes you money for the assault. You claim he owes you money for going into your apartment at some time subsequent to this altercation and ruining your property. Mr. Hager has a whole different interpretation of what happened on the freeway about a year ago. He says that you actually stole money from him, that you're not obligated to the bail bondsman. He's obligated to the bail bondsman. He's going to have an opportunity to tell me, but you're no longer in love?
No.
Absolutely not.
You don't see each other anymore?
No way.
No.
Perfect. So, tell me what happened a year ago, Ms. Jurgens.
I was in a violent relationship, so I moved out of my county to a different county, and he followed me down there. He learned where I lived.
Look at me. Don't look down there.
And he showed up and broke into my bathroom window, and he...
Were you home during all this time?
No, I was not home.
Just a second. You have any proof that he burglarized your house?
No. I have a police report of the robbery.
That you reported?
Yes, I did report it.
I can make a report. I can make a report that he burglarized my house.
He admitted he went through my bathroom window on the police report.
What date?
On November 25th of 2004, he admitted on his police report to the police in San Diego that he went through my bathroom window.
Okay, let me see that.
Didn't know.
Because November 25th, 2004 is the same day as this freeway altercation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see the report where he admits that.
I never even spoke to the police.
Shh. Just a second. Would you have her point out where he says window? Just circle it. Circle where he admits to the police that he went into your bathroom window.
He returned and climbed through my bathroom window.
That's you telling the police. You said he admitted to the police that he went through my bathroom window. I said, show me in the report.
Perhaps he admitted it to me.
All right. Would you get to the freeway, please? What happened on the freeway?
Well, I left my home because I didn't want any problems at my home. So I got in my car and I was traveling to my friend's house, and his car chased me, and I thought I should go right to the police department. And he followed me, and then he ran me off the road in front of an office, and the lady came out and dialed 911.
Keep going.
I couldn't call 911 because he was reaching in my window to steal my cell phone.
Keep going.
He hit my rental car, and then he sped off.
Keep going.
So basically, that's hit and run. The police arrived, took my statement, and they went to track him for the robbery and the damages to the car.
Keep going.
They found him, and they arrested him. He said he had a drink and a lost phone, and he was crying and upset.
Let's get to the bail, Miss Juergens, please.
He was arrested in San Diego. He knew my home phone number, so he called collect, and he promised to pay for those collect
Just a
calls.
second. He called collect, and the operator said, I have Mr. Hager on the phone, and you said, I'll accept the charges.
Not the first time.
I don't care if it's the first time or the 100th time. At some
Eventually,
point-
I took the call.
And what happened when you took the call?
He was upset and crying and promising me that he would quit using drugs and he would go to AA and never drink again. Please help me get out. My family won't help me. My sister won't bail me out. Only you can help me out.
So?
I hung up on him and I called my lawyer.
About what?
I said, my ex-boyfriend was arrested and he's asking me to bail him out. And my attorney said, well, that's a great idea because then you can bring him to us and we can get a retainer. So bail him out, sign for his release.
You think I believe that? You think I believe what you just told me? You think Bird believes what you just told me? That you calling your lawyer and you said, my ex-boyfriend who beat me up, who I moved from one county to another county to get away from, just called me up to bail him out of jail because after he burglarized my house, assaulted me, chased me down the freeway, damaged my rental car, tried to steal my cell phone. After all of that, wants me to bail him out. And your lawyer said to you, that sounds like a great idea. Why don't you do that and we can get a retainer from him and then we'll all be one happy family. So you went and bailed him out and put down with the bail bondsman how much?
I didn't put any monies down. I just signed for his release as my attorney told me to do so.
So they let him out because you promised to pay?
He promised.
So what are you suing him for bail for?
I have a promissory note that he promised to pay and he's never paid.
Well,
It's
what does
been
that
1
have
year.
to do with you? If you just said you're not obligated to pay the bail, what is the promise? You're suing on behalf of the bail bondsman?
The bail bondsman is suing me for the amount of $2,500 for
Show
his...
me that the bail bondsman
Sure.
is suing you. Well, they're not suing you. They said if this matter is not resolved, they're going to send this to a collection agency. Tell them to sue you. All right. Tell me this story about what happened, Miss Juergens, when you signed him out and took him to your lawyer. Tell me what happened.
My lawyers had him sign a retainer and they made $8,000 off of him.
Yes.
Then they called him and said, why haven't you paid that bail bond? It's going to collections. Pay it. And he promised.
Just a minute. Why would you take him to your lawyer? This man who you fled from one county to another to get away from, who just burglarized your house, assaulted you in your home, battered your car, almost killed you on a freeway. Why would you take him to your lawyer?
To get him out of my county of San Diego and put him back in Orange County and let my lawyers handle it.
How many lawyers are there in Orange County?
About 1 million.
Right. And according to you, we paid your lawyer $8,000. I guarantee you, another half dozen of the million lawyers in Orange County would have taken the case for $8,000. So why you chose to take him to your lawyer, the whole story is so bizarre. And if the story is so bizarre, and if it doesn't make sense, it didn't happen that way. All right, Mr. Hager, I've listened to the fairy tale on this side. You want to tell me your side of this fairy tale?
What really happened was she took off with my phone after coming to my hotel room.
Where was your hotel?
San Diego, Mission Bay.
What were you doing?
They're like getting ready to go to SeaWorld.
You were getting ready to go to SeaWorld?
Yeah.
Who were you going to SeaWorld with?
I was going to go to SeaWorld with my daughter.
Was your daughter with you?
No, she wasn't at the time.
Where does she live?
She lives down in Costa Mesa.
Listen, Mr. Hager,
Yeah.
you're always going to get tripped up on a little detail.
Yeah.
Because they make up the story as they're going. Do you understand?
Oh, I'm not making it up.
Oh. What were you doing in a hotel room, and what was she doing in your hotel room while you're getting ready to take your daughter to see the sea lions?
My daughter wasn't with me at the time. She was in Oceanside visiting her cousins. Charlene came down there because she had to see me.
Just a second. How did she know you were there, sir?
She called me.
On your cell phone?
Yeah.
Okay. And you told her, I'm here. Did you tell her before or after you arrived?
After I arrived, I believe.
And she came to your hotel?
Yeah.
What's the name of the hotel?
I think it was the Hilton.
Paid by credit card or cash?
Credit card, I believe.
And you registered there in your own name?
Yes, yes.
Why do you hesitate?
Well, I have trouble with remembering details. Yes.
Well, I mean, it would be a simple thing. Somebody said, did you register there in your own name? I'd say, of course.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, Do you know what I'm saying, Mr.
Yeah,
Hager?
I know what you're saying, yeah.
It's the little details that are going to trip you up if I don't get an accurate story from you.
Okay.
Or as close to accurate in this fantasy that I want to get.
All right.
So she came to your hotel.
Yes.
For what purpose?
To talk.
About what?
About a relationship, and also to try and talk me into like backing off on some of the accusations and charges I had against her.
For what?
Battery, robbery, all kinds of stuff.
Were there criminal charges pending against her at the time?
Yes.
Is that true, Ms. Juergens?
1, assault. Robbery is false.
So at the time you went to his hotel, there was a current criminal action pending against you?
Yes.
Well, at least I got you in his hotel. That's different from the bathroom in your house. Now, according to you, she left your hotel with your cell phone. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that's why you followed her on the freeway.
Yes.
Did you pay the bail bondsman, sir?
Yes, I paid him everything up to about $2,500.
Did you pay her lawyer any money?
Yeah, and quite a lot of money. In fact, I paid her bill for the lawyer too.
You did?
Oh yeah, I have the receipt right here.
How much did you pay her lawyer?
$1,250 on one count, and then I paid $2,500 on another count.
What made you so magnanimous?
Well, you know, she kept telling me that we could work things out and she loved me and stuff like that.
Were those criminal charges subsequently dropped, Ms. Juergens?
No, they weren't.
Did that case go to trial?
It did not. I changed my not guilty plea.
To a guilty plea?
Yeah, after 11 months.
What was your sentence?
Time served.
How long had you been incarcerated?
48 days.
What was the nature of the assault that you pled guilty to?
He alleged that I scratched him and assaulted him and battered him.
Is that right, Mr. Hager?
Yeah, I have the report with the 5 stitches that I had, if you'd like to see that.
I would. So I am correct in the time sequence in this case.
Right.
Your allegations, Ms. Juergens, that he assaulted you after he crawled through the bathroom window, and that's when you took off down the freeway. That police report was made after you were under indictment for assault. Is that right?
I was fighting my alleged charge.
Correct. Well, the alleged charge. It's no longer an alleged charge. It's a conviction.
Now it is.
How come you didn't tell me you were in his hotel room until I got the information a different way?
You didn't ask, and he asked me to go. He invited me.
This is the same man, Ms. Juergens, who you fled from one county to another to escape. You went to his hotel room alone? Goodbye, Ms. Juergens. I'm totally disinterested in your lawsuit. You have no case. That's all. Goodbye. With him, won't you?
Sure.
Good. Miss Bowers, this used to be your friend. She borrowed your car. She had an accident. You wanted to pay for the damage to your car. Miss Batman does acknowledge that she had an accident with the car. She said you should have used your insurance, and if you didn't have good enough insurance, that's your problem. That's pretty much your defense.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, correct.
How'd you damage her car?
I pulled into a carport trying to move, and when I pulled out, I was trying to look around the corner, and it hit the carport pole.
So the accident was your fault?
Yeah.
So how does that translate into use your insurance, and if you don't have insurance, you pay for it?
Well, if you don't have the proper insurance, why are you loaning your car out?
Mr. Fish, she had proper insurance. You have liability?
Yes, actually, my mother had bought me the car, so my mother had full coverage insurance on the car. And at the time we were going to file the claim, Lana would not call her agency, because first we were going to try and go through hers. And so she came over and we discussed it, and she told me that since she had borrowed the car, she wanted me to pay half because I had lent it to her. We were going to do it out of pocket, so the insurance, because it was going to go onto her insurance, my mother's insurance, and yeah. So we were going to try to do it outside of there.
You were going to try to do it without using your insurance?
Yes.
Because certainly if you used your mother's insurance rates were at risk, and if you used hers, her insurance rates were potentially at risk.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know because Lana wouldn't get a hold of her insurance for me.
Whatever. You have an estimate?
I do.
Right.
I called my insurance.
And?
And they said the insurance follows the car, not the person.
Okay.
That was
Miss
a week
Bat-
after I had
Just
it
a second.
fixed.
Miss Batman, let me try to explain it to you, because I know that you really probably think you're right.
I am right.
Miss Batman, I want you to listen to me.
She shouldn't have loaned her car out.
I want you to listen to me carefully.
I didn't ask to borrow the car.
Listen to me. I want you to listen to me
She
carefully.
felt guilty.
Try listening. Okay, listen.
I'm listening.
Okay.
Can I say something?
First, you have to listen. I understand. Hey, listen. We live in a world of responsibility.
Right, and I'm very
Just listen. Try not to plug up. Try to open up and listen. If you didn't want to accept the responsibility of using her car with caution, then you should not have taken her car. Now, based upon what you told me, you drove the car negligently, not on purpose, but you weren't looking, because certainly if you weren't looking in the right place or if you misjudged space, that's your fault. It's not fair for you to say, well, it's true that I caused the damage to her car, and I want her to bear the responsibility of fixing the car with her insurance, despite the fact that we all know that once you put in a claim for insurance, your premiums go up for sometimes up to 5 years. And that, Miss Batman, is just wrong.
Can I
It's
say
not thinking. I know that you have something you want to say, but I want you to try to absorb what I've said to you as an adult. Now, I will hear you.
Okay. First, I didn't borrow the car. She was supposed to help me move.
Shh, no, listen to me.
No, she was supposed to help me move, and she was going to drive the car. I didn't want to drive her car. She was sick, and she couldn't help me, as usual. And so she said, well, here, why don't you borrow my car? Because, you know, I feel really guilty. So I said, no, I'll take my dad's truck. And she said, no, take my car. Just take my car.
What does that have to do with what I just said to you?
Well,
how old are you?
30.
Listen to me.
But
If you're
I'm
30,
not finished.
if you're 30, but I'm going to stop you right. If you're 30, and if you say, no, I'll take my dad's truck, the reason you didn't want to take her car is because you didn't want to be responsible for it.
I didn't want to
Listen to
drive
me. You didn't want to be responsible for it.
Right, but she should have been responsible in saying, this is insured under my name. It's under my mother's insurance. You won't be covered.
Miss Batman, if you're 30 years old and somebody says, take my car, and you say, no, I don't want to take your truck, you're forcing me to take your truck, you're holding a gun to my head, I'm going to take your truck, but I'm not going to be responsible for it. If you take her car, you are responsible for acting in a way that doesn't cause damage to the car. And if you cause damage to it, that's your responsibility. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,260.
Thank you very much,
Judy.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
But claims it was never alone.
Mr. Sanders, who is this young lady?
This is my daughter, Caitlin.
Okay, this is your complaint. I assume it's really about a loan that you made to her.
It's about both, man, the iPod and the money.
You were dating,
Not at the time. We were not dating.
but you were friends.
Yes.
You had been dating, then you remained friends. So you claim a loan of an iPod and then a loan of some cash because she said that she was financially strapped.
Yes, ma'am.
And she has 2 children. You felt sorry for her, so you loaned her some money. She has not paid you back that money, nor, according to you, returned the iPod. When did you have a relationship with her, and when was that over?
The relationship started online in a chat room back in January of '06. We actually started seeing each other approximately April of '06. and we quit the physical part of the relationship in approximately October of 06. We remained friends. There was a situation where she was actually living with somebody else, and I was not comfortable with her constantly saying she was going to leave this guy. I said, you know, I ain't doing this anymore then. You got to, or get off the pot. She didn't, so I made a decision, you know, we'll be friends. She talked about to myself and my daughter, she cared about me, she wanted us to be together. I said, well, you know, when you decide to move on, let me know. And we continued to be friends, talked on the phone, online quite a bit. And that December, I had come into some money, and I decided to buy myself things I wanted for a long time.
Okay, so in December of 06, one of the things you bought yourself was an iPod.
Yep.
Okay, when did you give it to her?
The day I bought it, I was in Grand Rapids, where she lived. We live about 35 minutes apart.
The day you bought it, you gave it to her in December of 2006.
Yes. I am not computer savvy. I said, you know, I got this thing, I want it, but I'm not sure how to get music on it. I've got a friend, he can download this. She knows a lot more about this stuff than I did.
What took you a year and a half to get the iPod back?
Well, she claimed it was stolen in January of 07 out of her car.
Just a second. What took you a year and a half to sue her?
I actually decided to sue her in January of this past year, a year later.
Why?
Because she continually did not pay me back.
Just a second.
Yes.
You're his daughter?
Yeah.
How old are you?
11.
Do you have an iPod?
No.
Does your dad have an iPod?
I don't know.
Does your dad have an iPod?
Yes.
I have an iPod?
Shh. Just.
Sorry, Your Honor.
That's what she said.
I don't have an iPod.
Then you don't need one. If in December of 06 you bought an iPod and a month later she told you that the iPod was stolen, and this is something that you always wanted, Mr. Sander, listen to me very carefully, sir. If something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. You sure you want your daughter here?
Absolutely.
Fine. If one of the things that you purchased, one of the things you always wanted in your whole life was an iPod, and you purchased it in December of 06, and you gave it to her in December of 06, and she said it was lost in January of 07, and you claim now, she says no, but you claim now that you do not have another iPod, an adult like you would have replaced it in the year and a half that you didn't have it if it was something that you always wanted in your whole life, because, Mr. Sander, they're not that expensive. I just bought 3 of them as gifts. They're very cheap. You would have in the last year and a half replaced it. Let's get on with the loan, sir, which is where I wanted to go at the beginning.
Well, ma'am, that's
Let's get on with the loan.
She promised to pay me back for that
Let's get on
iPod.
with the loan.
I have the information where she promised, ma'am.
Let's get on with the loan.
Very well.
When was the loan?
There were 5 loans made.
Starting when?
In January of 07.
How much?
The total was, I don't have the total actually written down in front of me, it was around $700.
You're coming to court. You're supposed to be prepared, Mr. Sander.
Well, I have all the dates on the loans were made.
Can I see his bank statements?
I had to withdraw cash. She does not have a checking account. She asked me to give her cash. If Your Honor will notice that all
Just
the loans.
a second.
Yes, ma'am.
What are all these checks?
Those are just part of the statement on that particular month. I only pay my bills by check. Everything else I use a debit or a credit card on. I have no reason to withdraw cash.
Everybody has a reason to withdraw cash, sir. How much money did he give you?
I would say a couple hundred, like maybe 3 or so. It wasn't 700. I know that.
Well, you have outlined, dating back to January of 07, $950 without the fees.
You also notice, Your Honor, that I live in Muskegon. Those were all on Alpine in Grand Rapids near her hometown. I was there seeing her, loaning her the money, except for the one on Sherman Avenue, which is in Muskegon. I was on my way there. I stopped by my bank.
You say you have proof that she acknowledges the loan of this money.
My daughter overheard conversations on my side of it where I said, let's get together, you know, we need to talk about you paying me back. The agreement was once she got a job. She didn't get a job until October of 07. And I said, take a month to get on your feet. I understand. That's fine, but you've got to start paying me back this money.
Go ahead.
My daughter and her were close at one time. And finally in January of 08, we went to where she worked, had a conversation where, again, she promised to come over to my daughter and myself. No call, no show. And that's why I said, you know, I'm done waiting for this. This is the next course I got to take.
Okay. Go ahead.
I don't know. He did give me money, but I didn't say I'd pay him back. And he has stalked me before, and it kind of creeped me out. So that's why I think...
Do you take care of children?
I have 2 kids. Yes.
You take care of them?
Yes, I have them every day.
How old are they?
My oldest will be 4, my youngest is 2.
And where is their father?
He works.
Does he live with you?
Not now, no.
And where are your parents?
My mom lives by me. My dad's dead. My mom is around. She actually watches my kids every day while I work.
Okay. Mr. Sander, forget the iPod that you gave her in December as an early Christmas present. She owes you $800. That's what you're suing for. I think that you probably made a big mistake.
That goes without saying, Your Honor.
Okay, so you seem like an intelligent man. And what do you do for a living?
The money I got was through a back injury. I can no longer work, and I do boat rehabbing now. We buy, myself and a partner buy boats, fix them up, and resell them. That's
Make
about
a
it.
living at that?
Not really, but it's a hobby. I can work at my own pace. My back limits me to what I can do every day. I mean, I can work 15 minutes, sit down for 20, work 15, sit down for 20. So it's kind of at my own pace, and it's kind of nice. And it keeps me out of the house because walls start creeping in when you're there all the time because you can't really do anything.
You get disability?
I've applied for SS, Social Security.
If you can build boats, sir, you're not going to get disability insurance. You understand that? Yeah, right. Boat builders usually don't get disability insurance. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. That's all.
Thank you.
Mary, the defendant is your former boyfriend, and quite foolishly on your part, you made 2 children with him. That is probably after you already knew that he had, according to you, a serious gambling problem. It is your claim that he forced you to take out a loan.
Yes.
That the loan was to be used to pay some bills. That you claim that he gambled the money away. He says he did not. He said it was either lost or stolen. You also claim that he owes you money because he said he would pay for the children's daycare, or at least half of it, and he didn't, and that he has been threatening you.
Yes.
So you want to be compensated for that, too?
Yes.
What was the loan for, Mr. Simmons?
It was a title loan on her vehicle, 2002 Ford Explorer, for our rent.
And when the loan was taken out, the check was cashed.
Correct.
And who took the money?
I did.
And what did you do with it?
Well, we left from where we got the loan, went back home, and then the next day I went and got a haircut at the local Walmart. I had like $974 on me. Paid for my haircut, went to Arby's, ordered some food, went to pay for my food, realized I didn't have my wallet.
So you either lost your wallet or it was stolen?
Correct.
Where's the police report?
There is no police report, Your Honor.
I don't believe you.
That's your choice, Your Honor. I mean,
That's my
the truth.
choice, that's my right. Because anybody who has a wallet stolen or lost, and that's their rent money,
Well, if you'd let me finish, Your Honor.
they file a police report.
Your Honor, like I said, let me finish.
Show me a report
I then went back to Walmart. Okay?
Yes.
I then went back to Walmart, had my wallet. There was no money in my wallet.
Show me the report.
What report would there be?
From Walmart.
Your Honor, that night...
Shut. There would be a police report that you were the victim of theft. Even if that were not the case, let's say you left your wallet on the counter when you got your haircut. You're responsible for the lost money.
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
I don't care whether you say you are or whether you say you aren't. That's why you're here, sir. That's why I went to law school. And what do you do for a living?
I'm currently unemployed.
That's why I went to law school and you are unemployed. All right. How much was the loan? $1,000?
It was $1,010.50.
Okay. Now, give me in 30 seconds or less how he's been harassing you and threatening you to the extent that I'm going to compensate you for that.
Ever since we moved up to my mom's house, and then we moved out into a place of our own, and ever since then it was threats daily.
Then you leave.
Calling.
Then you leave.
I didn't want to rip our family apart.
Well, that's too bad. Then you don't come in and complain about it now. You
Well,
left,
then-
ultimately, correct?
Yes, I did, and I
Very
got an
good.
OFP.
A protective order?
Yes.
Perfect. Good. That's what you should have done before. Now, tell me about this money owed for daycare.
I pay daycare for our 2 youngest children. I pay my mom $50 per kid per week, so that totals $400 a month.
Yes.
And I've always paid the daycare. He has never helped take care of any of his kids. He's got 5 kids, and he doesn't support any of them.
He had 3 before he had 2 with you?
Yes.
You should have had a clue.
Yes, I should have.
You should have had a clue before you had 1. You should have had a bigger clue before you had 2. And unless you can prove a contract with Mr. Simmons to pay half the daycare, you will address that issue when you take him to court for support.
I never knew anything even about the daycare, Your
Just
Honor.
listen to me. Does it sound like I'm against you right now on the daycare, sir? So
Just
why don't
wanna
you
make
just
my
keep
point,
your mouth...
Lois.
I don't want you to make a point. I want you to be quiet unless I ask you a question.
Okay.
Perfect. Do you understand?
Yes, and child support is pending.
Good. When you have a child support order against him, then he will have the parameters of his responsibility with regard to these 2 children. And if he fails to pay the child support order, and if that judge has any gumption, she'll put him in jail for non-payment of child support. But unless you have a contract with him, oral or written, with regard to payment to your mother for watching your children. He's not responsible for it. Do you understand?
Yeah, but he's always told me he'd help me out.
Well, he helped
when
you
it
out is not a
comes to the
contract.
kids.
Help you out is not a contract.
And I
Right
do
now,
help
he
her
owes
out.
you $1,010. That's for the money that he either lost or stole or gambled away. Anything else? Perfect. Thank you, judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was never a legal sale.
Ms. Howell, you sold the defendant a used car.
Correct.
For $1,900.
That is correct.
He paid you, according to you, $900, and the understanding was he was going to make payments for the rest, the other $1,000. Within a relatively short period of time, the engine blew up in this car. What year car was it?
It was an 89. However, I would like to point out that at the time he bought the vehicle, he was aware of...
Just don't tell me what he was aware of.
Okay.
You can't tell me what he was aware of.
Can I tell
Unless
you what I told him?
No.
Okay.
What you can do is you can show me a bill of sale.
Yes. Would that
Bill
be
of
the
sale.
title? Or I have a
contract, a bill of sale.
written agreement. There you go.
So this is a 1989 car, which is now 18 years old. And you sold it to him for $1,900. And he says Arbla is responsible for the purchase of this 1989 Mitsubishi, payments, what the delivery payment was, and how they were supposed to be made, the rest of the payments, when they were supposed to be made. Nothing about the condition of the car, nothing. That's all it says. So you can't tell me what you told him, you can't tell me what he knew, you can't tell me anything else, because anything else should have been in this contract. Do you understand? Law does not permit you to go outside the four corners of this contract. So you were selling him this car. It blew up after him. No, not as is. You did not say that here. Do you understand that? Good. So the car blew up, but that still doesn't relieve you, sir, of the obligation of paying for the car. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Except you say that she didn't have clear title to sell you the car.
No, ma'am, she didn't.
That when the car blew up, you went to try to take it to a salvage for the purpose of, put your hand down, for the purpose of getting some money, so you were going to pay for it.
Correct.
And you didn't have clear title to the car.
Correct.
May I interject?
Yes.
The person that I purchased it for never took his name off the title, which I was unaware of, because the automobile
then
that
he's
I
absolutely right. You did not give him clear title.
But
listen
the
to me.
automobile dealership that I purchased it from is responsible for transferring the title.
Listen to me. What he's saying is, and he's absolutely right,
I have a copy of the lien right here, ma'am.
I'd like to see it. You did not have clear title to sell him this car.
However, I will say that when I purchased the vehicle, I'd owned that car for 6 years. I purchased this off 3 years before selling it to Rory.
Hugh is the lien holder.
He was the gentleman that I purchased the car from.
Miss Howell,
I owe him
what
no
I'm
money.
telling you is you did not give him clear title to this car.
I was unaware of that.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $2,900 to $3,500. I'm not positive of the amount.
Let's say you paid $2,900 for it. You sold it to him for $1,900. You got $900 from him, which means you had the car for 6 years or so, and it cost you $2,000. Do you understand what I'm saying? I feel badly at all dismissing your claim.
But
not at all. Because this agreement that you just gave me is void because you had no right to sell him the car. And I don't care what you put in it in order to maintain it.
It had a brand new motor. May I please call my
Miss Howell,
father as a witness?
Miss Howell.
Yes.
Is he going to tell me that there wasn't a lien on the car?
No.
Then I'm not interested in what he has to say. Thank you very much. Your case is dismissed.
Incident wasn't his fault.
Mr. Kelly, this is your...
granddaughter.
And you own a car?
Yes.
You let your granddaughter use the car?
Yes.
What kind of car is it?
It's a 2002 Pontiac Grand Am.
You're a very, very good grandpa.
Yeah, I try to be.
How many grandchildren do you have?
4.
Is this the oldest?
Yes.
You don't play favorites, do you?
Try not to.
Try not to. I know. Well, Mr. Rundy over here wrecked your car. And he says, it's not my fault. It's somebody else's fault.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you wreck Mr. Kelly's car?
April 4th, I do believe.
At what time of the day or evening did you wreck his car?
Around 10 o'clock at night.
Where had you been earlier that evening?
Over at Alicia's house.
How many people were at Alicia's house?
Her, myself, Philip, and 2 of my friends.
So 1 girl
1 girl.
and 4 boys.
4 boys.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ted Kelly claims his granddaughter's friend, 18-year-old Nicholas Rundy, wrecked his car during a night of drinking. Nicholas says Ted's granddaughter is also to blame.
Now, how old is Alicia?
18.
And who does she live with?
By herself.
By yourself?
Mm-hmm.
What time did you get there?
8 o'clock probably. She called Philip's cell phone to have us come over just to hang out.
Don't offer me any information that I didn't ask for, Mr. Rundy.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll get all the information I need. At what time did you take Mr. Kelly's car?
9:30 or so.
How much had you been drinking?
A couple glasses of mixed drink.
Of what?
Rum, I do believe.
Who mixed them?
We did.
Who's we?
Me and Philip and everybody. They were pouring our own drinks.
Who mixed your drink?
Me.
And who mixed your second drink?
Myself.
And if you had a third drink, who would have mixed your third drink?
Myself.
Where did you get the mixers from?
We didn't have any mixers. We were just pouring them from the bottle.
Well, then that's not a mixed drink, unless you were mixing scotch and rye, and you weren't mixing alcohol, were you?
No.
Because that would have been really dumb.
Right.
So were you having straight drinks or mixed drinks?
Straight drinks.
So you had a few straight drinks, and you took the car about 9 o'clock at night. Who was in the car with you when you took it?
Philip.
And at what point did the car get wrecked?
Around 9:45, I do believe.
Did you receive any sort of citation that day from the police department?
No, ma'am.
Did the police arrive at the scene?
Yes.
Did they give you a breathalyzer test?
No.
Did they take you to a hospital?
No, they just questioned me about the car and arrested me for public intoxication.
So you didn't get a citation, you got arrested.
Yeah.
So if you got arrested for public intoxication, you must have been really drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were driving.
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
My father now.
Did your mother throw you out?
No, I had to move.
Why?
Wasn't doing the right thing in Indiana.
Is that where your mother lives?
Yes, ma'am.
So your mother had enough of you moved to?
Cocoa Beach, Florida.
Who does your father live with?
Himself and me and my brother.
And what are you doing in Florida now?
About to go to school and just looking
So
for a job
right now you're doing nothing?
Yeah.
About to go to school, about to get a job, right now you're doing nothing?
Yeah, I just moved down there.
Now, Mr. Rundy, you are going to explain to me, sir, why this accident was not your fault. Or please pay careful attention, because in case I missed something, I really want somebody to give me a poke to be able to say, you missed it, you missed the important part.
I'm here for you.
Thank you.
All right.
We're both all ears, Mr. Rundy.
I'm not trying to say that it's not my fault.
Well, that's what you said in the answer. You said, let me tell you what you said in the
Okay.
answer, Mr. Rundy.
Okay.
Which caused me to do this torturing routine that I did for the last 5 minutes.
Right.
Alicia, the other 18-year-old idiot who was drinking that night with 4 guys, she's the reason why I had to go to jail. That's what you wrote here.
I didn't.
And had to take classes for first-time offenders. Did you have to take classes for
Yes,
first-time
I did.
offenders? I was surprised to learn that Mr. Kelly is suing me. Alicia should pay her grandfather for the money he is asking. Mr. Kelly is suing the wrong person. That's what you wrote. So now what you're telling me is that was all a big mistake?
No, it's not a big mistake. I feel she should have some responsibility in her car. I know what I did was wrong, and I know that, but...
She wasn't in the car.
She gave me the keys to her car, though.
Yeah.
So where's the responsibility come in at?
How much do you weigh?
180.
You think that she could carry you, put you in the car, take your hand, put the key in the ignition,
I have no
turn
idea.
it on? You don't think she could do that, do you?
No.
Only you could do that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the one who poured your own alcohol.
Yes, ma'am.
You're the one who put the glass to your lips and guzzled it down.
Yes, ma'am.
You're the one that took your behind and put it behind the wheel of a car where you could have killed somebody.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the one who's going to pay for Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly, were you able to have the car fixed?
Yes, I was.
And how much did it cost you, Mr. Kelly?
Over $5,000.
You have the bill for it?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Mr. Kelly, your granddaughter, Alicia, I must tell you, I believe, did not act responsibly that evening. That doesn't mean that he's off the hook. That just means that if I were you, I wouldn't give her back the car.
I'm sorry.
Did you give her back the car?
Yes, after I got it fixed.
That was a big mistake. I wouldn't have given her back the car. She behaved irresponsibly. You understand that, don't you?
Yes.
Taking advantage of your grandfather. I wouldn't let you take advantage of me. I'll tell you that right now. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Mr. Rundy, you better get busy and get back to Florida. Hurry up, hustle, get a job. Hustle, hustle, bustle.
All right.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The complaint.
哎呀，看到女婿长，忙看你女婿在后头老早让个下酒看到旁白的嘿。 此时此刻你有什么想表达的了？
妈妈就觉得哈，
啊，
然后她是妈妈只有2个姑娘，没有儿子。但是妈妈觉得现在妈妈有了儿子了。帅子就是我的儿子。
一个女婿8个爱啊？
不是1个爱，
一个女婿1个爱的。
你看那我是一个女婿8个爱，是以前流传古传的。实际上养上有8个爱。就是1个爱，你就应该带到起儿子所有带到的责任。你那个享受儿子所有享受的东西。
坏算了。
家呢，就是要温馨，不但要温馨，而且要有浓浓的亲情。
是的，
对吧？你不信我不信你，共同的吃，共同的喝，是吧？
是的了，来吧，咱们共同举办吧，娃姐。来，我举赞，你们举杠，来，红红火火，咱们家和万事兴啊，越来越好。
越来越。